else thought he was mad except Xbox.
We're live.
Okay.
I forgot to tell you.
We're live?
Yeah, we're live.
Oh my God. See this production quality that we have here? The man in the other chair just forgot to tell me that we were live. Hey, everybody. Welcome. Thursday night. We are back. It is PM in the PM. Pong and Mav in the PM. Listen, sorry about last week. That was one on me. Mav has made that clear to everybody who will listen that it was my selfishness that caused us to miss last week. So if you didn't hear, it was my fault. I had a work event. Yes, those things do pop up from time to time, especially during Christmas. So I had to go to dinner. But we appreciate everybody for tuning in on this special festive holiday edition of PM in the PM. It is December the 22nd. Christmas this weekend already, folks. And as you can see tonight, you're not just getting Pong and Mav. You are getting a special guest, as we like to do from time to time. And I really like this dude, so I'm happy he's here. So listen up. Our guest tonight is cooler than the other side of a pillow. You may feel yourself being hypnotized by his soft-spoken tones, but you would be wise to snap out of it and pay attention to his Master Yoda-like wisdom about the gaming industry. This gamer's roots run deep in the tech side, and he enjoys trying out the latest and greatest, including VR. In fact, this man is so hardcore VR, you can find him sweating to the oldies like Richard Simmons. For all your older folks out there, you probably get that. Nobody else will. On his treadmill as he runs from virtual reality dragons in Skyrim. He's a founding member of the incredible Game On Daily. He is the calm to the sauce's storm as co-host of Go Live, keeping the entire platform from burning down as gas splashes in puddles of gasoline while throwing matches. If that isn't enough, he has his own YouTube channel at Asa Game On Daily, where he hosts Q&A sessions because Gaz never lets him talk. Hey, you know Gaz. Game streaming and those ridiculous VR sessions. But that's not all. No. This man also spends his nights roaming cities and fighting crime as the famous Cape Crusader, Dick Wingbat. That's right. That's right, chat. Send those clap emojis for the one and only Mr. Cool himself, Asa. Asa, welcome to PM in the PM, brother. How are you doing? And thank you for joining us.
I'm fantastic. Welcome, everyone, to PM in the AM on the 23rd of December here in the UK. I'm
love it.
Blushing. That's quite an intro. Can confirm I'm not actually the Dick Wingbat. I mostly sleep at night. But besides that, you're spot on. I do all of those things, and it's all great. So, yeah, hi, everyone. Be nice to me.
Can't be anything but nice to you, Asa. So appreciate you taking your time. Know it's morning there for you as well. So thank you for being here. And then, of course, I got to get to my co-host, the guy who graciously gave up the lead chair when we started this show to me, the guy who has built this entire fun speculation platform that we got going on over here. The man who is freezing cold right now in Texas. That's right, folks. They have even been hit by the cold. His cold is a little different than mine, but I'll give it to him. His house doesn't heat as well. So, Mav, besides setting off smoke alarms with the fireplace, besides shrinking your balls because it's so damn cold right now in your house, what have you been up to, brother? What's going on, man?
Nothing much, man. We went and prepared for this cold. We went out, I got fireplace tools, I got Duraflame logs, I got wood. Pause. I got lots of stuff to prepare. I have a bad chimney or something, though. I got to figure that out. I don't know what's going on, but besides that, everything's good. You know, I've been working and getting ready for the holidays also because we got Christmas around the corner. We had to finish up shopping and doing all that fun stuff. And yeah, we got a fun few days ahead for us, man. But as far as gaming, been playing a little bit of Warzone again with Kate. That's been a lot of fun. Me and you actually with Kate had a blast going through and completing that Call of Duty raid, which was crazy, man. So we'll have to talk a little bit about that at some point in the show, because that was something I remember, I think. You know, and cool. that was a blast. Besides that, man, I haven't done a whole lot of gaming. Again, just been too busy really to spend a lot of time. And but also one other thing I did try, for those that tuned into the stream last night, PC Building Simulator. It was on sale and the countdown sale for $5. I decided maybe this is the time I get the game and try and gain some confidence so one day I can build my own PC.
Do you have as much knowledge as tech heads like Asa do now? Are you
but the chat was being very helpful. The chat was helping me along, but not to the point where I still wasn't getting blue screens. I was getting blue screens on my fake PC. I can't even build a good fake PC. How am I ever going to build a real PC? I was blue screening. I couldn't even overclock it by like 10 megahertz.
What?
Yeah, no, if I overclocked it whatsoever, blue screen. Worst PC builder ever. I'll have to figure it out, man. I gotta.
So we're not adding that to the repertoire of Fun Speculations channel. PC building, we're not going to do that.
I'm going to spend some more time with the PC building simulator and see if I can't figure it out before I get into it. I mean, but I had a tricked out PC. I had a 3090 in it, and because I didn't get the PC building simulator 2, I got one. So
you got one. So
yeah. So yeah, I'm a little behind on the times, but I had there's a lot of cool stuff in there. I got. I had all this awesome RAM, memory, and storage. I had a custom liquid cooler in there and all this stuff. No, didn't matter.
Alvin with the $10 super chat says #never overclock.
Thanks, Alvin. Appreciate the $10 super chat. Also appreciate the $2 super chat from Jay Rimbert. Says we need unity in the Xbox community. That rhymes. I love that, and we're gonna get into some of that a little bit later as well.
We are, Jay.
What about you, Pong? What are you up to?
Well, before I get to me, let me throw it back to our guest, Asa, because I did forget to include that in my opening questions. Again, professional podcasting here. Asa, what have you been playing lately, brother? What have you been enjoying outside of VR Skyrim, which I saw you can't get enough of? What else has been going on with you?
So, yeah, VR Skyrim, I've been killing all kinds of stuff in there. VR Resident Evil 7, I would not say I've been enjoying. I've been playing it.
You're a brave man, sir. You are a brave man.
Yeah, I'm not. I just like close my eyes and nobody can tell. It's fine. And High on Life, I've played High on Life for about 5 hours, and I'd say I'm about half an hour into it because I just sat there watching the TVs for ages. Like,
Tammy and the T-Rex, man.
I'm just going to watch these. I haven't watched that yet. Just the adverts. I've just been watching the adverts on it.
Oh, Tammy the T-Rex is amazing. We need a 4K Blu-ray of that out immediately. It's freaking ridiculously good. Well, that's cool, man. Again, I'm not the horror guy at all. Like, I don't do horror games. So even thinking about doing Resident Evil in VR, I already start to get my heart starts beating faster. It sucks. I can't imagine.
I play it with a heart rate monitor. I'm also not a horror person. So there is visible evidence that, my heart rate.
Yes.
It knows what's going on.
Wow.
Yes. Oh, that is the problem with VR.
Do you have a cutoff point with the heart rate monitor? If it gets above a certain point, you take a break?
My heart rate is typically fairly low, and it's hard to determine whether it's spiking because crap, this is really scary, or whether it's spiking because I'm physically running away screaming.
I think both are about the same, Asa. I don't think there's a difference in those.
They're connected.
Yeah, they are for sure. That's freaking awesome, man. I love it. I love hearing other people's experiences that I'm just never going to have. So that's great. My week, Mav mentioned it. We did hit up the raid in Call of Duty Modern Warfare, which got my Modern Warfare, pulled me a little bit away from Midnight Suns. And so I've been playing a little bit. I've been playing a few matches of Modern Warfare here and there, again, just doing regular multiplayer before I go to bed, and been having a blast again in that. But the raid was something really cool, and it was different. It was so different. I'm not going to say it was like up there with like Destiny style raids at all, but you can see that, Infinity Ward and the teams over there are actually trying to do something different for once with Call of Duty. And I got to applaud them. And it was the definition of insanity, as I tweeted out. We had to redo and go over and over again to get it done, but we did get it done. But we had a blast the entire time, and it actually required teamwork, which I was surprised about. They put up a warning before we even got in the raid that said, it's advised that you use communications, that everybody
Yeah.
has a mic and you're going to need it. And they weren't joking.
Yeah.
They weren't joking. Not going to spoil it for anybody, but there are some sections in there where you absolutely have to be able to communicate with people to get through them. So we had a blast doing that. And then, as I stated, still addicted to Midnight Suns. Still, I cannot get enough of this game. I can't explain it anymore in any other way than I already have on all the previous shows over the past few weeks since it's been out. This game just is ridiculously fun. It is so good. And like I said before, the day-night cycle and getting into a pattern of the loop of what I do during those day and night cycles is just awesome. It's almost calming to a point now that I have it down pat. Like I just go, okay, gotta go do this, gotta go do this, go do this, run a mission. Okay, now it's nighttime. Do this, do this, do this, sleep, start the day over again. And I'm loving the missions. I'm loving the characters as they power up more and more as I get more cards. My decks get better and better. Just having a really great time. Again, shout out to Firaxis and what they did over there. They're masters at what they do when it comes to this style of strategy in the card system. Again, I was off the train. Mav was off the train, but now I'm fully in it. And it is for superhero wise, this style of strategy game. It is fan-freaking-tastic, and I'm loving every minute of it in there. And then I did play, again, when High on Life came out, I did play a couple hours of it, and I haven't gone back to it yet. Obviously, it's on my list. I know everybody's having a blast about it. We're probably going to talk about the numbers because the numbers are impressive for a game like this, with this type of humor especially. And on top of that, the reviewers not being so kind to it. So I do want to get back to that as well. But that's been pretty much my game this week, I think. So other than that, that's been about it, Mav. But Mav, hey, listen, brother, before we deep dive, before we start getting into these topics, we do have a sponsor, do we not?
We do. We do.
Yeah.
This episode of PM in the PM is brought to you by our favorite producers of ball trimmers, Manscaped. The global leaders in below-the-waist grooming are leaving 2022 with brand new products, Persevere Cologne and Persevere Body Wash. 2023 is the year to up your hygiene game and smell amazing. And Manscaped wants to help you do so with this special offer. Use the code FUNSPECULATION for 20% off plus free shipping at manscaped.com. Take the leap into the new year and join the 7 million men who already trust Manscaped. Yeah, that's our sponsor, and I gotta say, you know, great products as well. Again, everybody, 2022 was a great year, but 2023, one of my resolutions is that I want my balls to smell good and stay clean. So
and be smooth.
Yeah, be smooth. Keep them trimmed and nice and neat and smelling good. And also they got lots of other stuff there too, right? So check it out, everybody. It's not too late also for white elephant gifts or stocking stuffers. Because if you stuff a stocking, maybe you get to stuff another stocking, if you know what I mean.
Wow.
Right?
To stuff that stocking, it'd have to be pretty big.
I do not know what you mean, man. Please explain.
Kill two birds with one stone. You stuff that stocking, sneaking into your own stocking, right? Be like, what's this?
Give yourself a gift.
Who got me this ball stuff? That's crazy. Hey, thanks, babe. I didn't get it for you. It must have been Santa. What's he trying to tell me? That my balls need to be trimmed?
No.
I don't know.
Her next question is, who's your girlfriend? That's her next question.
Yeah.
Oh, good stuff. Good stuff. Absolutely. Everybody, again, it does help out the channel. So if you feel like, getting something for somebody else in your family, like I said, it's a great dad gift. It'd be a little weird, but it's a great dad gift. Get them one. And use that fun speculation code for 20% off.
Speaking of stretching things out, Kate informed me that the overlay that I have on here, I accidentally forgot to make it the right size. So I got to fix it because I don't want to mess with her hard work.
As long as you're not going to use the freaking Xbox UI that you did that.
No. I just bear with me that it's going to look a little funky for a second, but I want her hard work to show off fine.
Oh yeah, look at that.
There you go.
Got a Christmas tree and everything that I didn't see before. That's
yeah,
nice.
I know, man. It's my fault. Yeah, we got a tree. Now I gotta just.
Way to go, Caitlin. As always, thank you very much.
Yeah,
and,
I was
for
rushing to
letting
get things
Mav
going.
know.
Yeah, I ruined it. My fault.
No, you didn't. You're good. You're good. All right. So let's get the show started, folks, shall we? And I think we should start with Mav and I always like to get the less fun things out of the way and end the show positively. So let's get the less fun things. And you also know on PM and the PM, Mav and I don't get into community stuff a whole lot. We're on Living Split Screen. Steele and I almost have a weekly rant on something about the community, but here we really don't. But this week, especially, it's kind of bubbled over. And Mav and I both discussed it, and we also discussed it with Asa in the background to make sure he was cool with it as well. We didn't want to spring this on him since he is indirectly involved with this, as his good buddy Gaz is been the center of some much debate this week in discourse. In fact, some of it borderline personal hate from members of the community. And I'll save a lot of my stuff and I'll let these two fine gentlemen go first. But I just want to say that you've heard me, all of you have heard me, if you followed me around through the podcast, talk about this at one time or another. I talk about the circus, the clown show, whatever you want to call it. And we know that there's a lot more visible, louder people on the PlayStation side because obviously PlayStation is a more popular platform. But I always made it clear that there is a circus on both sides, and there are clown shows on both sides of this aisle. And I hate that we even have this at all, but it's true. And I think that some people this week really crossed the line when it came to Gaz and his critique of Xbox. And again, I'm not the dude who goes around telling everybody they have to agree with everybody. That's not the case. That's not why we're here. There's plenty of content out there if all you want is cheerleading. Okay, there is. There's plenty of content. But on a lot of our shows, especially here, and I can speak for Mav on this because this is the reason why I joined Mav and why Mav started Fun Speculation. We want to talk about all aspects, good, bad, ugly, or indifferent. And it's really disheartening when I see a community turn on another member of this community just because they don't like what he's saying. So first, let me go to you, Asa, because you are this guy is a good friend of yours. I think I can say that. He is somebody that you regularly podcast with as co-host. It's somebody that you know quite well, and you know how Gaz is and how he speaks his mind. And you don't shy away from speaking your mind. Gaz just happens to do it a whole lot louder. So for you, Asa, this week, kind of sitting back and kind of, not necessarily being a part of it, but, you did join him on a show, which was to a lot of people on the other side of the line that I'm aware of. So from your perspective, Asa, what's kind of gone on this week, and what are your feelings about watching this all go down and having Gaz take a lot of heat this week? What do you think here, brother? Where are you at with this?
Oh, yeah, that's I didn't realize he was quite as famous as he is. I saw a podcast, not one that I watched, not from a community member that I've got any interaction with ever. I can't remember what their name was, to be honest, but it was a podcast that had a decent number of views, and Gaz's name was there in the title of the YouTube video for this podcast. I was like, what? How is Gaz used? It's just bloody Gaz. He's that tall and he speaks too much. Why are you talking about him? I could tell you for sure that I know that a lot of Twitter in particular has got fairly heated, and people have been fairly direct in attacking him and this, that, and the other, and all that console warring. I don't very much get involved in Twitter myself, and I certainly just gloss over console warring stuff. I don't even see it. It's just gone. It's gone with the adverts. The way that you see a promoted post and you're just like, yeah, that's gone. Not seeing the promoted post. Same for me for console wars. Gaz, I can tell you that he's not taking it badly. He's fine. Don't worry about precious little Gaz. He stirs the pot, and sometimes it boils over, and he enjoys it. So he will bite back. I can tell you that much. People that have been having a go at Gaz, prepare yourself for an answer. But yeah, don't worry too much. He's all right. He stirred that pot himself.
Yeah, but do you think his criticism was fair, or do you think he was over the top with it?
I've seen people.
I
The main
think
thing
no,
is they say
they
he was
need
too
way
far.
more criticism.
Yeah, I think
It
that's the one
depends.
thing. What
People
Mav
deal in
said is that he's
hyperbole,
been,
don't they? So
yeah, but he's been the main point that I've seen from people is that he, for a while now, or what people consider for a
Yeah.
while, legit. Like if you go back and look at all of his other videos for 2 years now, come on, man, you know where the guy stands. But just recently, he's done a lot of criticism towards Xbox. You know, whether it's Halo, whether it's the marketing, which was the latest, you know, kind of go around, you know, telling them to get out of the business if they're not going to have any exclusives in 2023. Do you think that's actually him stirring the pot, or do you think that's him being fair in his criticism and just looking at it honestly and speaking his truth?
he's definitely being honest. I will give him that in all circumstances. He is giving his truth. He, despite people thinking that he's flip-flopped and switched sides and changed perspective and all the rest of it, he's very much an Xbox guy. And if the last 8 years haven't shaken him out of that, then this year's not going to either. He very much is an Xbox guy, will remain that way, and he's going to criticize them when they do things wrong. It's hard to look at them and say that like his criticisms are invalid or unfair, but you have to understand when he says something that's completely hyperbolic, like if Xbox don't release any games in 2023, then they should get out of the console business. He's not saying that with the expectation that it's a reality. Like that's not going to happen next year. There's no way that Xbox don't release any games next year. Right. He's not wishing them away. He's pointing out how serious a failing that would be. And who disagrees with that? Like, how can you disagree with that?
I've seen that used a massive failing. I've seen that used a lot today on Twitter. Like, what, this guy said this and stuff. And here's the thing. Like, I agree with Gaz. I'm very pro Xbox all the time, right? I've been down on them also recently because of marketing reasons, right? We get hate from the chat when we talk about these issues as well, right? The thing is that he's not wrong with what he's saying. And when I see people say that he took it too far, what do you mean by that? Like, what line is there to give a personal opinion on something? Because for me, as like a content creator, the number one thing that I like is honesty and speaking what you feel. There's a lot of people in the community that get flack for that at times. Fonz gets flack for it a lot of times. That dude is so genuine with his opinions, regardless if you like it or not, right? Gaz is the same way. But the thing is with Gaz, is something I've noticed, he's extremely passionate, right? Extremely passionate, and he gets very vocal, loud. And so whenever he has an opinion, it's going to be a very loud, vocal one. So if you don't like it, guess what? It may rub you the wrong way, but it doesn't mean he's wrong, right? And for people to act like they like somebody for so long just because you like what he's saying, and then all of a sudden he has an opinion that you don't agree with, it's like, well, that's too far. I cancel this guy from the community. I've seen people say he needs to be kicked out of the Xbox community because he said something negative about Xbox. Well, I say horseshit to that. We're all gamers, right? If you actually care about the product that you're buying and you actually want to enjoy that product, then you want them to do as good as possible. So at times, criticism is necessary if you're a fan of something. If you like something, if you enjoy it, you want to enjoy that even more. You want to see them do better. 2022 for Xbox was a bad year for first-party games. Point blank. If they had another year like 2022, that would be absolutely the worst thing that could ever possibly happen to Xbox, right? Cool. And that's the point Gaz was making. Is he predicting that's going to happen? No. Did you watch this video, or do you just look at little clips of people making little memes about him right now? I gotta say, the number one thing I dislike about podcasts and hosts and certain channels out there is when they're disingenuous, when they lie for just the point of clicks and views and all these different things. And you're being honest, and you can speak your truth, and you can have a voice Whether you like it or not, that's what it is. If you don't like it, you don't watch it. That's all it is, right? That's the point. The thing is, Gaz will make positive. He is. He will make more. He will make a lot of positive Xbox videos. He'll make a lot of positive content. I got to stand up for a guy that I think is a genuine good dude. And I dislike what's going on when I see people just call him names and say he needs to be kicked out of the community or whatever for having an opinion. This is not a crap gamer scenario here, everybody, which I've seen another situation turned. We're comparing somebody that has been disingenuous in the past, has completely made videos and all these different things just to draw an audience in for the clicks, as opposed to somebody that actually believes what they're saying, right? Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter if you agree. I have disagreed with Gaz at times. Guess what? And some of the things I've disagreed with Gaz on, turns out he was right. So we have to admit sometimes things can be better. And how do we get that situation? Do we call out the flaws, or do we just stand by and just accept whatever they give us? Right?
Correct.
Sometimes you got to give it to get it.
You do.
Yeah, I'm going to confiscate his Game Pass, which you might not think is possible, but I can confiscate Gaz's Game Pass.
Well, he was already blocked by Halo on Twitter, wasn't he?
Yes, yeah, he was blocked by the Halo Twitter account. Yeah. And mine. I blocked Gaz.
Listen, I think part of it stems to Asa from the fact that you guys do bring on your show some people that parts of the community would not agree with at all having on. And I think that I understand where Gaz is coming from, where you guys come from, that you want to have outside voices on. And I respect that. I mean, I'll admit myself, there have been, people that you've had on when they've been announced, and I'm like, oh, I'm not watching this week. That's for damn sure, right? I would never associate with those people, even in that type of situation. But I respect what you guys do, and I respect the fact that you guys want to have those other voices on. I just believe some of them are fakes. They are actors. They are here to draw an audience more so than they are actually to talk about the gaming industry from an honest point of view. And so, but be that as may, I think that also adds fuel to this fire, because there's been a lot of shows where you guys have had people on that some people just absolutely hated or despise. But I think to your point and to Mav's point, Gaz is being truthful here. And I see people like Mav said, we've been critical of Xbox, and we've had consistent shows over the past couple of weeks where we've talked about things. And I've seen people claim that podcasts in general, not specifically toward us, but I've seen that they claim that every podcaster is out here just trying to drum up news or drum up a topic to talk about, and that it's not real. Listen, when we had Xbox Ultimate the other week and we talked for an hour and a half on the marketing, which I never would have guessed that we would speak an hour and a half on it, but we did. That's not fake, right? Just because your interest level may not get that deep, or maybe you believe that there is nothing that Xbox can do wrong, and so you just don't like hearing people talk about it, that's separate from what we're doing. We started this podcast to talk about the things that we want to talk about. Mav didn't start Fun Speculation to become a millionaire. Okay, that's not what Mav started this channel for. If it ever happened, sure, it'd be fantastic. He's not going to turn it down. But that's not why a lot of us podcasting are here. I didn't start living split screen with Steel, thinking that, in a year we're going to have 100,000 subscribers, be able to quit my job, No, I started that, and we started that as we talked about it, whether we were going to have 10 people in the chat or 1,000 people in the chat, it doesn't matter. We want to talk about gaming. And gaming I know some people only want certain topics to be covered or certain aspects of the industry to be covered. That's okay. I'm not telling you can't want that. And if a show isn't giving that to you, there's 100 other shows you can go listen to. And nobody's claiming that you have to listen to us speak. But the fact of trying to shut somebody down like Gaz, trying to go through this whole cancel culture nonsense that has come about over the past 6-7 years, and try to use it here and try to excommunicate him from the community in some
weird
form or
way.
fashion, like you guys are leaders, or like there's some like we're part of a cult.
Yeah.
That's the thing that we want to get away from, is that cult mentality. Nobody here
Tribalism.
has to do sacrificial cheerleading week in, week out, month after month, just to prove their worthiness to some plastic god. That's not what we're here for, folks. We're here to talk about the stuff that interests us. If that is something that interests you, fan-freaking-tastic. You guys know, at least on our shows, we bring the chat in if we see something interesting out there. But if we're not hitting notes that you like to hear, that's okay too. Right? That's okay. You don't have to listen to us that night. I just got done telling Asa there are times where I don't listen to go live because I don't want to hear the notes some of the people they have on are speaking. That's okay, right? The fact is that Gaz...
Not okay. Every week I expect you to be there, Pong.
I know.
I will just really briefly on that. Yeah, I will say to his credit, he's desperate to have like a back and forth and a good discourse rather than four people that agree with each other. And between me and Gaz, it's completely clear that he's an Xbox guy. Mm-hmm. I'm not his rival in that space. So when he's like, and he does most of the sorting out guests and things, and he's desperate to get people that will hold up in a conversation like against him, as it were, and not for the sake of like petty arguments and console wars, but just for the sake of good discourse and an interesting conversation. We get by. I'm able to sit in the middle and play all angles of the conversation quite effectively, but he's desperate to find those few good, mature PlayStation people that will get sensible conversation and discourse around the topics that everyone's fiery about. And he's always going to bring that bit of energy that he does. I will agree. Sometimes he misjudges people. I will say that. Some of the people that he invites are these like clownish characters, but he's trying so hard to get good discourse. Yeah. Promise.
and that's what I respect, and that's why I said, even if I don't want to hear it, I know what he's trying to do, what you guys are trying to do over there, and I do appreciate it, because sometimes that does lead to some great conversations. Again, when I started listening to David Jaffe, who I know you guys have had on and Gaz loves, at first I was like, oh man, I respected him for where he came from and what he did at Sony and all that kind of stuff. But as I started listening to him, I'm like, all right, well, I rock with some of his points I don't, but that's okay. But I like to get that back and forth, and I like hearing a different perspective. Like I said, there's just some people that I do feel are on the actor side that I just don't want to even hear, because I think they're being disingenuous. But overall, again, what Gaz is trying to accomplish is fantastic. And Shane, I hear you, brother. And I know you've been vocal about this in the chat. And I get it, Shane. I do. And again, I shout you out in almost every show you follow us around. For you speak out on a topic for a period of time, and then you wash your hands of it and you move on. But that's not how everybody works. Some of us like to continuously have these conversations as new information comes up, as we've been doing with the ABK deal. Some people were done with the ABK deal within the first week.
Yeah, I'm so sick. I was like 2 weeks later. I'm so sick of this. We're not going to talk about it anymore. It's like the biggest news in gaming history, and people were over it like in like 5 days. Crazy.
Exactly. So some of us just have different interest levels when it comes to certain things. And Shane, you said you went on to appreciating what Xbox does. Shane, you've been in our chats for a very long time, and I'm not singling you out for any other purpose than I respect the fact that you're always here supporting us, and you do come with good commentary in the chat. But the fact is, you've heard our shows. You've heard us praising nonstop Xbox, and none of us have said that we no longer appreciate what Xbox is doing for us, right? On our shows, you get basically Xbox commercials nearly every single week. Just because we do see some room for criticism, just because there's some interest in talking about it, does not mean we've lost that appreciation. Not at all. At all. Again, I have Xbox only. I don't even have another platform right now. And I came out during this last round of ABK stuff and said, now Sony has pushed me away from even considering buying a PlayStation 5 right now. I don't own a Nintendo Switch. I don't have a gaming PC. I am solely on Xbox. If anybody's behind Xbox, it's this guy right here. But we do talk about the industry as a whole, and we are not just going to cheerlead to cheerlead. And it doesn't mean that we still don't think the best of Xbox and love what they're doing right now in any way, shape, or form. It's just a simple fact that we have opinions as gamers. That's the other part of this. People trying to shut down conversations, trying to say that, hey, you can't talk about this stuff because you don't have a marketing degree. You don't know what you're talking
I've
about.
seen that.
When have any of us claimed to be experts? Outside of Hogue, who is an actual M&A attorney, who in this community is out here saying, I'm an expert in this field. I directly work for Xbox or I directly work for
somebody
PlayStation.
claims they're an expert because they work in HR.
No. All's we're doing is expressing opinions. And if you disagree with those opinions, if you disagree with Gaz's opinions, and on this latest video, I'll tell you this, I don't agree with all of his points in that video at all. But there is some truth in there from my perspective. But that's all these shows are. We're a bunch of gamers who are just highly passionate about this hobby and want to talk about it. And again, you've got your cheerleading side, which you can go find for Xbox, for PlayStation, for Nintendo.
Yeah. And those channels are admittedly that. And they say that.
Yes,
100%.
Correct.
You know what I mean? They
100%.
They say they won't talk negative because that's just not what their audience wants.
Right. But we're not here for that.
No.
We're here to have conversations about things that we want to talk about when it comes to this. And some of it's going to be bad. And as you saw on Xbox Ultimate, for that hour and a half, there was two sides. The right side, which was me and Mav, and then the wrong side, which was everybody else.
We had the same discussion on FSP.
Right.
It got reiterated again.
I know it did.
I wasn't even trying to, but like I just can't let that down. I just can't let it down.
I know. But as you could see, even for us, we were having discourse amongst us, which doesn't happen very often, but we do come from different perspectives, but that was okay. None of us were claiming that we shouldn't be Xbox fans anymore because Mav and I held a different opinion, right? That's not how this works. So what's happened to Gaz this week, again, crossed the line when people got personal. Now, I will say, Gaz coming back personally against people, that's not how I would handle it. But let me tell you something. If you throw stones, you don't get to play victim when those stones come back. Yeah. Okay? There's too much of that in everything nowadays. You don't get to do that. Gaz went through a lot of personal attacks. If he decides he wants to throw some punches, listen, I'm not going to agree with it, but I'm also not going to blame the guy and say the other people are victims. As Asa said, Gaz, nobody has to worry about Gaz. I'm not worried about Gaz. He's a grown adult man. Okay, he can take care of himself, even if he is short, as Asa pointed out. It don't matter. He can take care of himself. But what I am saying is, don't go play victim when Gaz starts coming back. Okay, that's not going to happen. Again, I saw a lot of personal attacks, especially live when he was on with Dirt Griggity, where he was big enough to jump in the chat, ask Dirt if he could come on to be able to talk about it instead of just having a podcast about him. He actually showed up and he didn't shy away from any of it. Okay. And I think that shows a lot about Gaz. And again, that's why I always respect the dude. Again, I don't agree with all of his opinions, never have. But the dude is real and he's being truthful about how he feels. And again, as Matt pointed out, because he is a little bit louder, because he does come about it from a different way of speaking about it, it might rub you wrong. That's okay. But this outright hate, this outright lies claiming that he's flip-flopped all of a sudden, no. Colt Eastwood has said the same things. We have said the same things. Dealer's been critical of Xbox. And I don't see people trying to throw them out of the community.
Rand been critical.
Rand's been highly critical of Xbox as well. So again, I think you guys have found somebody that you can go after because he is louder, because he is boisterous, because he does make these videos where he is crazy and he's outrageous. I think you found that to be the part that really rubs you wrong. But again, it doesn't matter.
I think Xbox guys found out what it felt like to be a PlayStation guy on the other side of Gaz's fury this past couple of weeks, and that's it.
Right. Exactly. And again, if he wants to criticize for 3 weeks in a row Xbox and you don't want to hear it, that's fine. Don't listen to him. That's fine. That's not a problem. But that is his choice to be critical of Xbox when he wants to be, or any other platform, as he did for nearly 2 years of PlayStation. Right? That's what he was doing. But now he just decided to do a lot of talking about Xbox and what he thought or sees as the failings or lackluster from Xbox, and that's all he's doing. But again,
there's also though,
yeah,
in terms of repetition, there's a fine line to tread. It's difficult to guess as somebody creating content. So Gaz he does go live on Saturday. He does XNC on the Monday. He'll guest on podcasts, and he's making these videos. And from his perspective, he can talk to people, assuming that they're following along with the conversations that he's had here, there, and everywhere else.
Sure.
And I know personally, I do this. I did my own thing on my own channel like a couple of hours ago, and I'm conscious not to repeat the same things that I said then. But nobody here was there for my own show, and you kind of have to tread that line, and you have to set context and repeat yourself to an extent, because I don't know, it takes some kind of narcissism to assume that everybody already knows where you stand on things, and so you're gonna get that. You're gonna hear the same things from the same person if you follow them in multiple places.
Right.
That's
correct.
The thing.
And that's another thing too, especially when I do 4 shows a week, it's impossible not to repeat the same things. And I do repeat the same things because I don't assume everybody's heard them, right? I don't go in with that assumption. But yeah, if you listen to me nonstop, you'd say, well, 4 days this week, he had something critical to say about marketing at Xbox, right? Last week. And that was the case, right? Every show we talked about it at some point.
Oh my god, I can't believe Pong still likes Marvel's Midnight Suns.
We got into heated debates on this channel. But guess what? We're all family, and like we love each other regardless, right? Like we don't go like, you suck now, you're not gonna be part of our channel anymore, or you're not an Xbox fan. Right. Or you know what I mean? It's like it's not a thing. We're family here, right? And like
the perspective is this is Xbox, $1 billion division within a $1 trillion division, or the $1 trillion company. Like Gaz is talking about the whole. Like he didn't personally point out some marketing head and say this dude should be fired, right? Like
Aaron Greenberg.
So right. So again, it's just in general that we're talking about a company. So I wish cooler heads would prevail. I see too much of this in this community. This community is fractured as is because of some of the nonsense that's out there. So when this comes in this way and takes the Xbox community, which is just starting to build up as Xbox starts to get the mind share back and starts to do well, I hate seeing it.
Yeah.
And I hate seeing somebody like Gaz caught up in, this firing squad of people in this community who just simply don't want to hear any type of criticism from Xbox. And I'm not saying that about everybody because everybody's got different limits, but there is literally a group of people who want to hear zero criticism.
Oh, again, there's a couple I could name right now if I wanted to, but
and that's if that's the case, you got to go find different channels that cheerlead all the time, and they're out there for sure, 100%.
So one thing I think this is boiled over to though because of the year that 2022 was, right? Because it's been going on for so long this year with so many different random disappointments, right? Different things, expectations of this year versus what happened was very different ultimately, right? And I feel like the frustration is built in there, and the people that just want to say, like doesn't matter because everything's still coming and all that stuff. It doesn't matter, that there's an excuse for everything, right? And then there's, trying to hold things accountable side as well, right? And say, like, you got to do better than that. You know what I mean? And the people that are the excuse side don't want to hear the accountable side, right? So, and the accountable side don't want to hear the excuse side. You know what I mean? Because we all are passionate about the same thing. We all love the same thing. At the end of the day, we're all right. You know what I mean? Like, so I think it's more than anything else, just a frustration of the year of first party that 2022 was for Xbox. And guess what? 2023 is going to be a hell of a lot better.
It is, and we're going to talk about that for sure. And to throw on the ABK deal on top of it, right, which has seemingly stalled a lot of the momentum in a lot of ways. And I think that you add those two things together, and I do think you have this underlying type of frustration that is happening to certain parts of the community, and rightfully so. Again, as gamers, as somebody who this is a hobby, this is entertainment, it kind of sucks waiting, and it sucks not hearing anything. It really does. Even if we all know it and we talk about the future, it doesn't matter. We still would like to see things. that we've had glimpses of. We'd like to have them in our hands. Again, that's why I came on the show mourning the loss of Starfield this year, because that's the one thing
Reverend
I
Pong.
wanted. This is the one thing I wanted. I put out a tweet this week saying that my new reality is that all these fantastic games I'm playing, I'm literally just passing the time till Starfield gets here. There's not a day that doesn't go by that I don't search out Starfield, right? And just see if anything new is out there or read something old about it. That's how bad I want that game, right? And it's not here. It sucks. It really does. So anyways, great conversation. Asa, thank you for giving your point of view on this. We got a $4.99 super chat from Mr. Joanna Dark. I knew he was going to pop in here with some nonsense, and he did. Thank you, Mr. Joanna Dark. Happy holiday, gentlemen. Hope you have a great time. Pong, stop slandering Nintendo or we will kick you out of the club. Laughing out loud.
Yeah.
Listen, Mr. Joanna Dark, I sent back my club membership to Nintendo a long time ago, sir. And have not asked for it back. So we're cool. When they come out with a real console, let me know, and I'll ask for back into that club, okay? Promise. But we got a lot of great people in here. Listen, we got over 70 people in here. We got Vampire Zombie showing up in here. We got Andrew Cullinane. We got the brother from another, Mr. Steel Rain himself in here, giving some good chat. We got Alvin. We got Sappho. We got WhySoSerious. We got Jigga J. What's going on, Jigga? We got It's Timmy. It's Timmy's in the house. We got Shane G, of course. Shane, thank you for being here, brother. Appreciate you. Live Supremacy. What's going on? Focus Active. Great to see you in here. Polybaba. What's going on, man? Great to have you a part of the conversation. UK Lad, of course, dropping on in here. Jay Dillinger. Who else we got in here? We've got Isla Ghost McDonald's. Who's that, Asa? Who's that?
Isla. Yeah, that's Isla. She's a friend.
Yeah, Isla Ghost
Isla.
McGonads. Sorry, I said McDonald's. I read that wrong. McGonads. Isla, thank you for dropping on in here and showing support. Appreciate you. Who else we got out here? We got Vik The CLiCK, of course, in the house. What's going on, Vic? I hope you got a shot in hand if you're not working. What's going on, brother? Great to have you in here. We got Calarie in the house, as always. We got Tony Grasso dropping on in here. John Wolf, what's going on, brother? Razor NZ all the way from New Zealand. How's it going, man? Great to have you dropping in here as you do each and every week. Deccaddo is in here. RSJ fan, thank you for being part of our chat. Spider-Man 356, what's going on? The wonderful, the beautiful Caitlin, of course. Miss Caitlin, thank you for being here. WhySoSerious, always dropping on in to say hi as well. Let's see, did I miss anybody else that's showing up in this chat? General Spartan 27 in here early. What's going on, General? Tom from Toonami, what's going on, my fellow RTS lover? Can't wait till that we get a lot more RTSs.
Oh, yeah.
It's happening. Tondo, what's going on, Tondo? Great to see you in here as well. All right. I think I got everybody. If I missed somebody, Ghost Fixter, I see you up in here. Thank you, sir, for being in our part of our show tonight. Let's see here. Where are we going to go? Should we hop right into 2023?
Yeah. This is, I mean, if you want to start on the high positive Xbox train, we can start with that, because I think this is a new era. Like, we had Insane Cakes, who's a developer, on the show the other day, and that was a lot of fun. You know, we were trying
to stay out of the wrong side, but
yeah,
he still was part of the wrong side a little bit.
Yeah. But in Insane Cakes, we were trying to pry a little information of him, whatever, and trying to get his excitement level for what's to come. But it was an awesome conversation. But he did say something that was intriguing, and that I feel like I've believed in for a while. I think Pong's believed in this too. We thought it was going to be this past year. Didn't happen. Things got pushed back. Things got delayed. But in his words, he kind of described that 2023 was almost going to be like the start of the new Xbox era. Right? The new era for Xbox, where like these games finally start coming out at a good cycle, right? And we're also getting more next generation type games, you know, finally, or new gen games. Pong, get that? New gen, right?
I'm ignoring it, and again, Grub is now on my not that he cares, but he is on my list now. So he's on the naughty list. He's getting coal for Christmas because he came up with this on Twitter that he didn't want to hear current gen.
New gen and old gen. I like it.
Something Mav and I have gone back and forth about, and of course Mav took it up to, and brought it to my attention and made a thing out of it on Twitter. So anyways, yes, go ahead.
Yeah. So with this new gen primary focus as well, I do feel like 2023 is really the start of this, all the investments that they've been making starting to really pay off, right? All these studios and everything, starting mainly with Bethesda ZeniMax, Redfall and Starfield, 2 massive titles. Asa, where do you stand on Xbox's year for 2023? We got Redfall maybe first, then Starfield, then Forza Motorsport. You got Minecraft Legends, Aura. Then you also have Age 2, Age 4 coming out for Xbox as well. And possibly one more game, who knows, in the holiday season. Is this the start of good things to come?
I was in the same boat as most other people towards the start of last year, saying that they've had some difficulties. They've had all this COVID's pushed the schedule back, all the rest of it, all the excuses that everyone's got for them. But at some point, the pipeline of games, not just for Microsoft, but for everyone, the pipeline of games coming has been backed up for a year. And at some point, when that bursts, there's going to be a flood of games. And in Microsoft's case, they've got so many studios that it would take a deliberate, cynical effort to not release games at a good cadence. You'd have to specifically try and sabotage your studios to fail in that regard. So it has to be that these gates come down and there are games and games and games and games and games. I'm surprised that we haven't heard a few more. I'm surprised that there's still we've got Forza Motorsport, but besides that, most of the weight next year is still on ZeniMax and Bethesda.
Yeah.
So it's strange that they started acquiring studios around 2017, and we're seeing so little from them. There's still questions to be answered, but still fully expect that they'd have a harder time not delivering than they will have delivering. So
I wonder where do you think some of those games are at in the production phase? Games like Fable, Avowed, Perfect Dark. I mean, because I've been asking for more information on these games, right? And people say it's just wrong for you to expect that, they're still in pre-production, but they got announced 2.5 years ago. You know what I mean? So where do you think they would be?
I like to think this is a very deliberate but painful effort on Microsoft's part to change the way that games are marketed, to have a shorter cycle. So there's lots of issues around the announcement and the release of games. People get frustrated when a game is announced 5 years before it comes out, and then they show vertical slices of it 3 years before it comes out, and then a year before it comes out, suddenly it's not looking like the same game anymore, and then it's delayed and all the rest of it. And you pin your hopes on these games that are so far away. And the industry would be better off if it wasn't like that. If you had a shorter pipeline that was more transparent or clear, this is what's coming in 12 months and this is what you should be excited about. Because there's no point in being excited about a game that's 4 or 5 years away. The difficulty that they always have is if they don't get word of a game out at the start of development, at the scoping phase of production, it will get leaked. So they will lose control of how news breaks around a game. So they get torn in this place where you need to show something of a game, a CGI trailer or whatever else, and everybody hates CGI, including myself. But it is the lesser of two evils. If you've got a choice between a CGI trailer or a Reddit thread speculating on the content of your game, then you do the CGI trailer and then you can start recruiting your team and you can build the game. But historically, throughout the video game industry, they've always had a lot of bluster around games that are far out. And you see games when E3 was running strong, you'd see the same game at E3 for 3 or 4 years in a row. There's a really big E3 that Sony had where people declared they've shown the holy trinity of games here. They've got Shenmue and Final Fantasy and Last Guardian, and there was all this they got a lot of applause for it, and none of those games came out for 3 or 4 years. It's a weird situation for video game marketing. Microsoft, I hope, are going through a concerted effort to shift the way that games are marketed, but an inevitable part of that is that there's a gap. There's a gap between we're going to talk about games that are far away and we're going to talk about games short term. And as we adjust our marketing, you're just going to have to grin and bear it through that gap. Stacked on top of the year of COVID, it's frustrating for people. I think it's important to recognize as well, though, that marketing. So we on a podcast and everyone here that's listening and cares about this stuff, we keep our ear to the ground and we're really up to date on gaming news. And it's almost a separate hobby from actually playing games. I think most of the people that actually just enjoy playing games and don't follow the marketing cycle so closely probably didn't have a bad 2022. They probably played loads of stuff and had a good time with it. It's the marketing cycle that's been painful. And even though I'm not saying that you can't criticize Microsoft for their output, but it is us that follow it closely that feel that more so than people that just getting on with having fun. And I think in Microsoft's case, they've put so much into it. I don't know how you can take those numbers and not turn it into a positive output.
Yeah.
So it has to happen.
And so let me follow up with you here real quick too, because we've had this conversation previously. The avalanche has to start at some point, as you pointed out, as we've all pointed out. They have way too much content.
And you mean avalanche like an avalanche of content, not avalanche like they're apparently making contraband that we saw 100 years ago and nobody knows what it is yet.
No, the avalanche of content, sir. Because they have so many studios, because they have so much in the pipeline, like you said, and so much has gotten backed up. Now, there's been some talk if they, if they have to space these games out. Like there's a lot of conversation about, Redfall, Starfield, and Motorsport and how they launch those. If they're all going to do them with, if they're going to get it done within the next 6 months, how are you going to separate those and give games to breathe? Now, for me personally, I'm in a spot where I say Xbox doesn't have to worry so much about that anymore. Sure, there has to be some planning. There has to be some timing. You don't want Avowed and Starfield to launch a month from each other, right? You don't want some scenario where you have something like that happen. However, because of everything that's happened, because the content is seemingly starting to back up at this point, they don't really, with Game Pass, have to hold back anymore. If the games are ready, let's say next year, Mav just named off what, 7, 6, 7, Mav?
Yeah.
I think something like that. And of course, not everybody's going to consider all those AAA. There's going to be all of that. The Age of Empires are going to be thrown away, even though Mav and I are super hyped for them, and we count those as big launches. But what I'm saying is, with the amount of content they have, where are you at with them actually releasing the content? Do you think that they have to hold back still to make sure the games have breathing room? Or you think with Game Pass and having those first-party titles available whenever anybody joins the ecosystem, whenever you want to jump into those games, is more important at the end of the day? And they start launching these games. Let's say they got 8 ready next year. Let's say an Avowed or a Hellblade 2 is actually ready. And all of a sudden now you've got a lineup of 8 first-party games coming out next year. Do you think that they need to hold those back, or do you think that they just go ahead and get them out into the wild because they're ready and they've got, X amount more for 2024, 2025, and there's no point in trying to space them out? What do you think?
It's a very good question. It's a difficult question because a lot depends on things we don't know about those games yet. So from Microsoft's perspective, particularly if you've got like a stable that includes Avowed, Fable, and the Elder Scrolls, like games that have a clear overlap.
Yes.
Depending on, you're right that they've got Game Pass, and Game Pass can support all kinds of delivery mechanisms for games, all kinds of games, big, small, and whatever else. But where they'll struggle is, we all know that Game Pass isn't the be all and end all of money for these games. It's not. Game Pass in itself doesn't support these games. They all either they sell on the side, so they sell at retail as well, or have further monetization within them. So I would say that they do have a concern, because just releasing these games into Game Pass does potentially suffocate them a little bit. If they release too many too close together and they're trying to get like a community around them, there's going to be a lot of overlap. There's going to be a lot of overlap, and it could potentially hurt some of those games relative to putting a bit of thought and consideration in it and spacing them out a month or so. It's funny because this is a problem that was speculated on like a year ago. We've thought Microsoft will be like further ahead of where they are. You look at what has been announced for the next year or so, they've got a while until this becomes a real problem for them. And that's still a surprise. But I do think somewhere along the lines, yes, it will become a real problem. The other thing to consider is Microsoft's strategy very clearly is to expand what gaming is and get new people into the space, not just cater for people like us. So there should be an awful lot of diversity of content and an awful lot of room for diverse content that's aimed at different people to kind of overlap within the release schedule. It definitely needs someone competent to plan it out, as far as I'm concerned. You can't just shove them all in there as soon as they're ready, I don't think.
And I think with the diversity, they're still doing great. If you look at all the games Mav just named, they're all different genres, right? Outside of the 2 Age Empires.
We have 3 RTS games, actually.
I know. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm
crazy.
saying. It is crazy, but they do all cater to a different audience or the same audience that plays different style of games. You're not having three, RPGs drop on top of each other at all, and even their third party deals gives them even more diversity as you look next year for the first 6 months. What's dropping in the Game Pass from third parties adds to that. We get a Monster Hunter style game in there with Wo Long. We get what else? We got Atomic Heart, which is another first-person, story-driven, narrative-driven game that looks absolutely insane. So you are getting a lot of variety here as well. But I do believe the Avalanche starts next year, Mav, as we talked about. And I think that the only thing missing is the second half of the year. And of course, that's what's brought up, and Ace, I want to get your opinion on this too. That's what's brought up the guesses, the opinion, the thought that they may delay Starfield until actually fall of next year or even into winter next year. Where are you at with that, Asa? Do you think they have something else? Because again, the showcase was the next 12 months, so June to June. That's what we're all assuming. Now, not everything always goes according to plan. We know this better than anybody. But, do you think that they have something in the second half that we get, closer to E3 time, showcase time? Or what do you think? They're going to push one of these big games into the fall, winter to kind of cover that? What do you think there?
I think they have at least one or two games that we don't know about yet that are coming out next year. Microsoft, they used to do it with Forza. Forza used to be their short notice game. That's grown in stature over time, but they used to announce Forza prior to E3. So prior to the big stage, they say, oh, by the way, Forza's coming, and then we've got a big show, and Forza will come out a couple of months after that. That game, particularly Forza Horizon, grew in stature a long way, and it got the proper, and it headlined E3 for the last one, when they had the Forza Horizon 5 looking all photogenic and all the rest of it. There will be games that they are keeping in their pocket. And when I say, I'm not talking Pentiment scale, I'm talking like bigger, but they bought 5 studios in 2017. I could be wrong because it's late and I'm not really thinking dates, but they got these 5 studios that have been working on things. Like, even if some of them were working from home for a portion of it, they have been working on things. I know some of them are ambitious. I know some of them, like Undead Labs, have had development troubles. Playground Games, we know that Fable's had some difficulties. Compulsion have been very, very quiet. In Exile are working on something ambitious, but some of these must be getting to the point of just decorating the cake now. So I think we'll get one or two big surprises for them in the second half of the year. As for Starfield, I think if ZeniMax had not been bought by Microsoft, they probably would have released it on the day in that trailer full of bugs. I think Microsoft have gone in and said, we can't really release a game with that many bugs. And they're going to be surprised to find that Starfield is not finished in 10 years' time. They're going to have to release it with bugs. Skyrim still has bugs. So.
Right. Yeah. No. Yeah. Absolutely.
I think it will hit this year. I don't think it'll hit the first half of the year, but.
Okay. So you're in the boat that they push it to.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I hate you. Okay. All right. Cool. No, that's fine. Again, I understand the thought process behind it. I'm not going to be able to live if they do that. Mav, same kind of question towards you, brother. Do you think that they're hiding something for the second half? Could we wind up potentially, as many of us have guessed, maybe if everything goes according to plan as it sits right now, we wind up with like 8 to 10 total titles out of the first party because they have 1 or 2 sitting back there that they haven't talked about yet. Yeah. What do you think?
So I think we already named 7, I think.
7,
right?
Correct. Yep.
So could they hit 10? If they had, let's say, the Coalition's small game that they're working on is a surprise, right? Let's say that Compulsion's game is ready. We've heard about how excited they are for that for years, right?
Yep.
And no trailer, no word about it, just Jez leaking, code names, right?
Right.
That would get you to 9 just with those 2, right? So then the question is, what about the other big games that were already announced? I don't think Perfect Dark's going to be ready. I don't think Fable's going to be ready.
Nope.
So that leaves 2 that I think could possibly be ready. I don't think State of Decay 3 is going to be ready. But I think you could have a blockbuster AAA type game ready for holiday season in a Avowed or a Hellblade 2, right? Now, some people would argue, well, Hellblade isn't, it's only like a 10-hour walking simulator, whatever,
We don't even know yet. We have no idea.
No, I think this Hellblade is going to be much bigger than the first one. They've said that themselves also. And just in like production quality alone, like this game's going to stand out like crazy. And so when I look at the games that we've seen the most from, I look at Hellblade, right? We've seen that literally twice at the Game Awards. I think we didn't see it again at the Game Awards potentially because they're preparing to have another thing about that at E3 next year, which would propel it for the holiday 2023 lineup, right? So if I was to make a bet, I would say maybe 9 games for next year. Hellblade and one of those other games, right? Either Compulsion or an Exile or Coalition's other small project. And then the crazy thing is, in the back of my mind, I still remember other things that are happening at Bethesda ZeniMax that we don't know about. What's it been doing for
Well, we
4
heard
years?
The smoke about Quake, right? Quake coming back this year.
Quake. I mean, you're talking. When did Doom Eternal come out? It was 2018, 2019,
2018, I think it was.
2019. So that's like 3 years, and they only took like a couple years between Doom and Doom Eternal, right? They don't really need a new engine at id. You know what I mean? They're like, that thing's buttery smooth and it can run on a potato and it looks amazing. So maybe
4 years.
I would say just maybe make little advancements in it or whatever and come out with the next big thing from them. Then you have studios like Roundhouse, right? That we've never seen a game from under that name at all, because they were like, they changed to them from like Human Head. And remember when they did the whole roundtable with Bethesda, they said at that time that Roundhouse was working on a new game that they're excited about. So what is that, right? Then you also think about, they also have Tango Gameworks, and we know that the second project from John Johannes is going on there, that they have 2 projects going right now. And these things just keep stacking on top of each other, of each other.
ZeniMax Online has now been working on a game for 4 years.
Yep.
Plus. So where's that?
Like the point is, I think not only is next year, I think, the start of the avalanche of games, but I think 2022, what led to some of the frustration for me in particular, like you said, Asa, was more about the news, right? I thought like overall, like they did a really poor job of like marketing for 2022, like with their pipeline that we all know about, and maybe it's the ABK thing. Who knows exactly what? But they restricted the E3 to the 12-month thing, which in the long run is probably the right thing to do, right?
Correct.
But for me, it didn't take away the fact that they had already announced games 30 months ago that we haven't gotten 0 updates on, and then some other things. I think this year is going to be the year we have more announcements of games and more of a regular pipeline of updates of content coming to us. With that Xbox Studio thing they made and some other things they're working on, it seems like they're ready to try and address that problem that we had seen coming in the future. And maybe because this avalanche of games is starting to happen, that's when they kick that into high gear as well, right? Yep. So I think
you two, and you're just dropping this. Like these 2 know that Contraband is coming out next year. They just keep saying avalanche.
Yeah.
Just
well,
Contraband
wouldn't surprise me, would it? You?
No.
I mean, honestly, like, as some had said, that could have been a 2021 game originally, that it maybe got pushed back because of COVID and they gave them an extra year. So 2023 wouldn't surprise me whatsoever either for Contraband. And technically it's second party or whatever, but it's still Microsoft published. Like, the amount of content coming from Xbox next year, but also the potential for the amount of news, because they got to market all these games as well.
Yes.
And then they got to set us up for the next 6 months to next year as well. Yep. I had a show before, and I don't remember which podcast we talked about is on either FSP or Xbox Ultimate, but I really think that Xbox will dominate gaming news and landscape in 2023. Because you add all those games are in Game Pass also, right? And we've seen how well they're doing without the first party, like gaining market share. Like people say, oh, it doesn't matter. Yeah, those numbers are real, right? Last generation, it was 7. If you just account for PlayStation and Xbox, it was 70-30, right? This generation, it's 58-42. That's a 12-point swing. PlayStation doesn't like that. Some say, well, it's only because PlayStation's been less available. Yes, some of that may be the case. People don't buy Xboxes if they don't want them, right? There's a thing to these games Xbox is selling. Not only that, but Xbox is less reliant on the Xbox console than PlayStation is on a PlayStation console. There's a lot of people in the Xbox ecosystem that don't even have a console, because you either have game on PC, you have Xbox Live account on there, you game on mobile, you use xCloud on Game Pass or whatever. They have millions of people that do that stuff, right? So you add those into the equation. The market share has changed, and the mind share has changed dramatically from one generation to the next already. And that's without that pipeline of content. You start adding that regular pipeline of content, and not only does that add games to the service, gets people to subscribe with that, but it dominates the news cycles. It dominates the news cycles with gaming. All of a sudden, every couple months, a new Xbox game, and Game Pass, all this stuff. We see what High on Life did right now, right? That's just one third-party game that was put into Game Pass, and how big of a deal that was, right? Imagine if that happened every few months for Xbox, how big it would be. Xbox is going to dominate the gaming news cycle in 2023. They're going to dominate the year, I have a feeling. And it's going to propel them, because it's not just going to stop there. It's going to continue for year and year after that as well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, 100%. And I think you're absolutely correct. And we're always in line with that next year is the year. And I think that there's no stopping it at this point. Even if, the ABK deal isn't done and they're still fighting that. Now all the cards on the table. So for the people who asked, well, so next year is the year then where the ABK deal doesn't matter as much. And I've said time and time again over the past couple of weeks that yes, because business has to go forward at some point. Like you can only slow down this ship so much before eventually you have to start dropping games. You have to talk about those games. You can't hide them. You can't, try to put them in the background while all this stuff is going on. The cards are all on the table now with the ABK deal. Decisions are going to start coming down from different locations. And I think next year is the year where Microsoft starts flexing a little bit when it comes to all of this content we've been waiting on. And I think that, again, we'll see what happens. We thought this year was going to be really good from first party, and it wound up 2 games were going to make this entire year in Redfall and Starfield. It was supposed to happen. Didn't happen. But all things are lining up. And now that we're kind of out of the pandy to the point where, we've heard the higher ups at most of the companies say, we're kind of through that now. Listen, it's time. It has to be time. So when we sit here and talk about 8 to 10 first-party titles, as ridiculous as that sounds coming off a year like this, it's got to happen at some point. And I think that Microsoft has to look at their pipeline and say, look, we can only back stuff up for so long, because you can't just have these devs sitting there on finished titles waiting to make money for Xbox and just hold them. I mean, that's not how business works. So I think next year is the year. That was just Xbox first party that we were primarily talking about.
Yeah, there's a lot more
third party deals are ridiculous too. Asa, for you next year, outside of Xbox, because I know you do gaming elsewhere as well. For you next year in 2023, what are some highlights? What are some games that you're looking forward to next year?
Well, some highlights. So in the pancake world, Spider-Man 2, I'm very much looking forward to. I enjoyed the Spider-Man game a lot. Insomniac have their flaws, but overall, loved the Spider-Man game. So looking forward to that one. Other pancake game that I'm really, really looking forward to is Hades 2.
Yes.
So I adored the first Hades more than anybody should adore a game. The second one only needs to be more of the same, and I'll be massively satisfied with it. So Hades 2 is perhaps top of my list of pancake games, despite the fact that things like Starfield are coming. I really, really like Hades.
Yeah.
And of course, being a VR nut that I am, I'm looking forward to the PlayStation VR 2, which comes out 2 months from today-ish.
Is that your most excited thing, actually? Like, just that hardware, you think? Because how much of a VR nut you are?
It's not the hardware itself. The hardware looks good, but for me, it's the fact that it should kind of reinvigorate content within the virtual reality space.
Right.
Because it has been very dry. Like VR is currently kind of fragmented between standalone Quest headsets and PC VR, which hasn't had a lot of love for the last year or two. A lot of the focus has been on the standalone Quest ones, which is obviously mobile phone processing power, essentially. So it's toned down VR as far as I'm concerned. PlayStation 5 is a very, very good baseline for VR content. So I'm hopeful that there's an uptick in VR in general, and it is good hardware. I've got my pre-order and I'm looking forward to the hardware itself, but I'm more hopeful that it just brings about a bunch of stuff for me to run around in.
What was the cost over there?
I don't know. I looked at the pre-order. I double-checked to see if the money was going to come out of my account today or not when I pre-ordered it, and it said, no, you don't. You pay in February when it gets dispatched. And I was like, oh, I'll probably be all right by then. So I just pre-ordered it and hope for the best.
Okay, because I saw Mag today put out in Canada, it's over $900 with Horizon. So that's what he's paying, is like $950 some for it.
Okay, so for content, I think I got the Horizon pack. I think it was about £600, and the PlayStation 5 I think might be 430. I could have these numbers wrong because once I've got these things, I try and not to look. Especially, I'm just terrible for buying things. So the more I look at shops, the more likely I am to click buy. So if I just avert my eyes, I'm safer.
Well, that's what all these ads are for, Asa. That's it for you. The more you see them,
it's not working. I scroll past them like I scroll past console wars. Like,
hey, go to manscaped.com and browse their products and use speculation.
Matt, what are some highlights for you outside of the
real quick before we get to that? I want to get to a couple of these super chats real quick, Pong.
Did we miss some? I didn't see them.
Mr. Join at Dark had hit us with a $5. Said, "Happy holidays, gentlemen. Hope you."
I already read that one.
Oh, my bad. Sorry. Yeah. Xbox International Podcast. Shout out to Crazy Louie and congratulations again to
the married
you, sir.
Crazy Louie.
The married man.
I think the wife's actually crazier for marrying you, but whatever.
Yeah.
Let's go with it.
Yeah. $5 super chat says, "Stop by to say hi. Hello, married fellow. How's life?
On?
Is your life over yet? Have you noticed everything different? No?
Is it all collapsed?
Yeah.
Are you guys still talking at this point?
Congratulations, Louis. It's completely awesome, dude. And he had some great videos and stuff on Twitter.
He did.
They were having
all
a
happy
blast.
Awesome.
Yeah. I do. It makes me happy, man. Love seeing that shit. All right. So standouts for me. Besides Xbox.
Besides Xbox.
I would agree Spider-Man 2. I still got to finish Miles Morales because it came out too soon after Spider-Man for me, and I just kind of it's played out of Spider-Man. I didn't finish Spider-Man right away. I played it 6 months to a year after it came out, and I finally beat it. And then because Miles Morales came out, I was like, okay, and more of the same. But I'm excited to see what they do for Spider-Man 2. I think it's going to be a step up. Supposedly it's PS5 only right now, at least. And so maybe they could do a little bit more with that game. So that's, as far as PlayStation goes, that's literally the only thing I'm excited for. That's announced for PlayStation. That's in the realm of coming out next year. Unless they have another surprise.
Final Fantasy 16?
That's an exclusive, right? Okay, so yes, I take it back. Final Fantasy 16. Yeah, it's that.
And Forspoken if you're going second party.
Yeah, no, you got me with the Final Fantasy 16. So there's 2 games on PlayStation I will be probably buying next year: Final Fantasy 16 and Spider-Man 2, and that'll probably, for the most part, be my gaming on PlayStation next year, unless there's some other Square JRPG or something that comes out that I really got to play, because supposedly they have no games for Xbox in 2023.
Nope.
Period.
Nope.
Square Enix blacklist the Xbox for 2023. So beside those are 2 games I'm looking forward to. Final Fantasy 16. The thing is, there's so many fucking games, man. It's
There's
hard.
so much. There's so much. Are you getting Tears of the Kingdom for Switch or no?
If they announce a new Switch and then they come out with a new Switch, I will get it. If not, then no. I will wait and hope that it's compatible on whatever new device they have in the future. I just don't see. Yeah, probably not. Probably not. I'm just hoping. Like in the back of my mind, I'm hoping. Also, Diablo.
Yes.
Diablo, hands down. I can't wait for that. Tekken 8, Street Fighter 6. Man, it's just like it's a crazy year, dude.
Yeah.
Because this year really had a lackluster for third-party AAAs as well, you know. And like I said earlier, we're getting a lot all in the same year. The Resident Evil 4 remake, actually, I'm kind of looking forward to as well. That should be really good. I'm trying to look through the list though because there's so many damn games that I'm gonna. There's too easy to forget them. Let's see what else is next year. There's Dead Island 2. Oh, here we go. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, 100%. Yep. But I will give them a lot of shit if it comes out in just 30 frames. I will.
It won't.
Yep.
You don't think so, Asa?
No, that one's definitely not. That one's it's all movement and shooting. It's more of a Sunset Overdrive than a Gotham Knights. That'll be 60. Promise.
Okay. You promise?
Ooh, I will promise. I'm coming after you, Asa.
I promise with all the weight of absolutely nothing because I'm not involved. But yeah, I promise.
All right. Assassin's Creed Mirage next year. Looking forward to that one. Oh man, dude. This is great. Redfall, Starfield. Those are the Xbox.
Yeah, but
ones.
We're doing Xbox. We're just trying to go outside of Xbox. So
I'm looking
Company Heroes, Company Heroes
3. Yeah,
that's going to be freaking amazing. I watched so many gameplay videos on that now. It's ridiculous. Armored Core 6. I actually forgot to mention that in my intro that I did pick up Armored Core 4 and 5 for Xbox 360, and I restarted those to get back into the flow of Armored Core. Armored Core 6 is going to be freaking amazing. Atomic Heart has been on my list forever. And yes, I know it's Xbox, but whatever. Hogwarts Legacy, I am all in. I'm all in on Hogwarts. And I'm not even a Harry Potter fan, folks. I shouldn't say I'm not a fan. I've read some of the books, watched all the movies, absolutely enjoyed them. I just don't go around knowing all the Harry Potter lore. I don't get that deep into it. But Hogwarts Legacy, after this latest gameplay trailer, sold me 100%.
They look pretty good.
I'm picking that up. It looks so good, man. It looks so damn good.
Is that 60 frames?
Yes, that's
I just don't trust anything from WB right now.
I know. It better be 60 frames because there's a lot of action in that game. So it better be 60 frames. Otherwise, I'll be back on here talking about it and whatever else. So, but like you said, there's so many games next year. We could probably sit here forever and do this because Wolong obviously is going to be absolutely amazing. The Hearts game from EA, that is another Monster Hunter like game that is looking great. Monster Hunter Rise, for God's sakes, coming out on PlayStation and Xbox for a change.
Armored Core
look great. Yeah, I said Armored Core.
Did you
just hear me?
Okay, no.
I said I forgot to mention that in my intro that I picked up 4 and 5 on the 360 and I started playing them again.
Oh, my bad. Yeah, Armored Core. I know you were like over the moon for that one.
Yes, me and Steel are all about Armored Core. It's going to be freaking nuts.
I would be more excited if they announced a Chrome Hounds too.
I know you would be. I know.
It ain't never going to happen. It ain't never going to happen. That game flopped big time, you know.
Well, again, that's the talk that we had, I think Steel and I had on Living Split Screen last week was Armored Core. If you look at the sales numbers, awful.
Yeah.
Awful. That sold like 125,000 copies in Japan.
Really? Wow.
And they're coming back like with the number 6. They're not even rebooting it. They're coming back with the number 6. From Software has learned a lot since back then with their Souls games, obviously. Their marketing, how to cater more to a bigger audience, obviously, with Elden Ring. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how they come through with Armored Core and try to get bigger appeal. It's not saying a whole lot because, again, worldwide, those sales were awful for the old Armored Cores, but man, is there a rabid fan base. And so people are going to be surprised when they hear that From Software is doing a mech game because they probably don't realize they ever did them. So it's going to be interesting to see that one for sure. What else we got? Dead Space remake. Even though I'm not into horror, I did enjoy the original Dead Space. This one, as Steel has said, the more I watch it, with how they've improved it, the scarier it looks now than it did back in the day. So we're gonna have to wait and see, but I still want to actually get my hands on with it because I think it looks absolutely freaking fantastic. Wild Hearts, that's the one I was thinking about from EA. Yeah, I think that's where I'm next year. The thing is, folks, what we're saying here is, if you haven't heard, 2023 on paper could go down as the single best game year in history. It really could. And I'm not just talking about from the amount of games, I'm talking about from the quality of games.
Yeah.
Next year's Game of the Year awards is going to be insane.
Does Jedi Survivor get a nod this
Jedi
time?
Survivor, yes. Or are they just out of the loop because there's so many good games this year?
I mean,
right?
even stuff like Alan Wake 2 is supposed to happen next year.
Yeah.
Right?
No, that's Remedy.
I agree. It's going to be pushed back. But right now, it's supposed to be 2023. There's just so much damn content, man. Like that.
Yeah. Good quality content.
Yeah.
We're talking about games that on paper and from what we've seen look like they should be really highly reviewed, highly loved games from a lot of the biggest developers, which is insane. This is going to be a big year. Huge year.
The biggest year
it's funny.
In years.
So a lot of people were really unhappy with the Game Awards, obviously, particularly like on the Xbox side of it. But I did last Thursday. It was like a week after the event, but I just went through a little Q&A show that I do on a Thursday. So we're just going to go through these trailers and talk about them. And it's like, there are so many games that I want here. There are so many good things here. I don't understand how people are unhappy with what they're seeing. Like, this is incredible.
I thought the Game Awards was a great show.
I will say,
overall,
every single one of them would be better in virtual reality. Even the ones that were virtual reality games would be better in VR.
You even got VR stuff at the Game Awards, Asa.
Yeah. Your bias is welcome. Even though VR, until they can jack me in like the Matrix, I'm not interested in VR. I appreciate what they're doing, and I love that there's so many people in that space, company-wise, trying to push it forward so that it eventually gets to that point before I die, Asa. Before I die, I want to have my Ready Player One moment, right? So before I die, that's what I hope.
I hope that for you as well, Pong.
Yeah. I don't have long, Asa. So anyways, we got to make that happen though. But yeah, you're right, Asa. Again, all the shows this year from the second half on, the showcase on, some of the stuff coming down the road, it just kept building and building and building. And that game, the Game Awards show, again, outside of the discourse that we've had and the commentary about Xbox not being there, I came out of that show when we were talking about it and said, there were so many third-party games shown there that are going to be going everywhere. That's the other great thing is, yes, we have the Square Enixes out there. We still have Sony buying up exclusivity, but a lot of the third-party titles are going to every place, and that is a good thing. More people getting to enjoy this stuff. So that was what was exciting for me. And this list has gotten gargantuan for next year's games. It's going to be crazy.
What besides Starfield? What's your like number one? What's your number one third party game, Pong? Is it Diablo?
Yeah.
Or Armored Core?
Diablo. It's Diablo. It's Diablo for sure. I watched more videos on Diablo. I went back and watched a bunch of people's gameplay, and it's Diablo for sure. Again,
I think the same.
I'm scared that Starfield's going to drop in June along with Diablo 4.
Yeah.
I'm like really.
If they do, man, like Street Fighter 6 comes out that week too.
Yes. Which I can hold off on. See, I can hold off on fighters because I'm not into the competition thing, right? I'm in the again, I just bought Mortal Kombat 11 on sale for $9, the Ultimate Edition, right? So I can hold off on fighting games. Plus, Guilty Gear is coming into Game Pass next spring as well, which is going to be and Blaze Blue as well is coming into Game Pass next year. Listen, I'm set. I'm good. I can hold off on the Street Fighters of the world. I don't need to compete. I wait.
I believe at E3 probably next year or around that time, we're probably going to get an announcement on Ed Boon's next fighting game as well.
Yes.
Because he hinted on Twitter 2023 for the release date.
What happens if he shows up at the Xbox showcase that they're going to do January, February?
I mean, then that would mean either one of two things: Killer Instinct rumor or whatever, or Mortal Kombat versus something, or that whatever he's working on is gonna be in Game Pass, right? So, but the things we know about that game is that Ed Boon teases a lot, and he answers these questions all the time on Twitter. We know that his next game is something new, right? we also know that now it's hinted to be 2023. And then after that'll be Mortal Kombat. So Mortal Kombat will follow whatever this is, right?
I saw the articles coming out because of how he answered the questions going, oh, Mortal Kombat 12 is coming. I'm like, have you guys not been paying attention? They've got more irons in the oven than just Mortal Kombat right now.
Yeah, and remember, I don't think they remember the fact that he had said the next thing is something new.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
So,
yes.
And that, because he said that a while back.
Yep, he did.
But I think it's what I think they are working on 2 games. They're working on this, whatever it is, and then they're working on the next Mortal Kombat. He's said that. He's working on the next Mortal Kombat. So,
of course.
But this other thing I believe is supposed to be first.
Yes.
So whatever it is going to be an exciting announcement and add to another fighting game for 2023.
Yep. Which is awesome. Again, horror genre, RTSs, and fighting games are having a resurgence, which is beautiful. It's absolutely awesome to see. Asa, are you a fighting game fan, by the way?
Not Mortal Kombat,
Nope.
but yeah, I feel it's a genre that hasn't progressed very far or hasn't progressed in a way that particularly suits me since like Soul Calibur on the Dreamcast. I used to play the smoother ones, the older Dead or Alives and Virtua Fighters. They haven't. So fighting games used to be like real showcases for consoles when I were a kid. So they'd come out and they were so like focused graphically on like here's 2 fighters and a backdrop that looks stunning and show you what this console can do. They fell away from that. They fell away from being like center stage games for consoles in general. Mechanically they pushed more and more towards the competitive edge, which they needed to, because obviously online gaming took hold and everything needs that bit more sophistication if you want people to actually sink time into it. So now I need a nice, basic, satisfying, spectacular fighting game to just wow my eyes while I bash stuff, and then I'll be happy. I really want to like Killer Instinct. Of all the fighting games that are current, if there were one that I could get into, it would be. I say current. Obviously, Killer Instinct isn't that current,
right?
But Killer Instinct has that kind of like rock paper scissors, fighting, throwing, countering. Really like the kind of fighting game that I would like, but I never quite. And the countering was, I don't know, I just never put the time in to actually figure it out. So it's got that spectacular vibe to it. I loved what they did with the music, and I don't want Ed Boon and NetherRealm to touch it because I don't think they can do it.
It's different. The fast combo style doesn't really fit Mortal Kombat, right? So
it is, but I think if there's anybody who could adjust to it and make a game based on that same type of mechanic, it would be Ed Boon and his team. They're experienced enough. I think they could pull it off.
Why do you think they can adjust though? Because Injustice and Mortal Kombat feel pretty similar.
Same.
But they wanted them to be similar, right? I think if he took over, because he's stated that Killer Instinct is a game that he would drop Mortal Kombat to go make. So I think from that respect aspect to how much he loves Killer Instinct, I don't think he'd want to change it because obviously he likes the style that it brings. So I think that he would adjust himself to that instead of trying to change Killer Instinct, because I think he actually does love the way it plays. But maybe we'll see. Maybe we won't. Maybe we will see. But the fighting genre in general, as we've talked about plenty of times, is something that we're happy to see come back. Again, I'm not even a competitive guy. I don't spend the time to learn the combos. I'm a button masher. If you got an easy mode where I can pull off combos and all that kind of stuff, I use that. I just enjoy the animations on the screen so much out of fighting games. Like you said, Asa, they used to push the limits of the consoles. It used to be like racing games are, and they would be the showcases, right? And I just love that, and I love all styles. I can't wait for Guilty Gear. I'm a big anime guy, so the animation style fighters I absolutely love now that they've gotten to the point where it's like watching a cartoon that you're controlling, and I think that is fantastic. So can't wait to see what they come up with next. But if Ed Boon has something to show next year, it's definitely coming. Mav, I agree with you wholeheartedly. Speaking of big time devs, Asa, what are your thoughts on Kojima? Do you like his stuff or not?
I don't like stealth games, which rules out a lot of his previous stuff.
Sure, absolutely.
And I don't like Death Stranding.
Okay.
But I say this, I can see what he's done and respect it in a sense. He is. I don't want to use like hyperbolic words for him, but he is a bit maverick, a bit visionary, and he does what he wants to and delivers something special. I know that you're leading on to the quote around what he said about his partnership with Xbox, where he's making something experimental, and Xbox are the only ones that can see what the hell he's talking about, which is somewhat concerning, no?
Yeah, you are a true professional, and let's talk about that real quick because you just led me right into the article. I'm reading from VGC, everybody. Kojima says Microsoft understood his unusual game. Again, this is Kojima talking about his own game as unusual. That's already saying a lot. When others thought he was mad, as in crazy. Okay, so Hideo Kojima has explained how his studio came to partner with Microsoft on an upcoming title and has again suggested it won't be a traditional game. Alongside the recently confirmed Death Stranding 2, Kojima Productions is currently working with Xbox on a cloud-based project that was announced in June. At the time, Kojima described it as a completely new game, one that no one has ever experienced or seen before, and in a more recent interview, claimed one of his next titles is like a new medium. In an interview, a new interview with IGN, Kojima stated that in addition to Death Stranding 2, we're making one other unusual title. Kojima said the game was pitched to a large number of potential partners, but Microsoft was the only one to really get the concept while the others thought he was mad. I tend to get easily bored, he said. Part of why I've been able to make games for 30 years is because new technology replaces the old so quickly. The tech you use today may not be applicable tomorrow, and I'm interested in figuring out ways to incorporate the new. Making the wrong choice can result in failure, of course. It's a bit like a space program in that way. The project we're working on with Microsoft is the one that I have been thinking about for 5 or 6 years already. The project required infrastructure that was never needed before, so I discussed it with lots of different big companies and gave presentations, but they really seemed to think that I was mad. It was ultimately Microsoft who showed that they understood, and now we're working together on the project, including the technology front. Based on the footage that leaked last month, Kojima's unannounced project would appear to be a horror game called Overdose. Last week, he provided a brief update on what Kojima Productions is working on in a video message released to coincide with the studio's 7th anniversary. Kojima said he's hoping to provide more information on a completely new game he's making, as well as some visual projects next year. It was also announced last week that Kojima Productions is working on a Death Stranding film. All right, Asa, now that I gave you the full context of the quotes, as you said, and I think that many people will probably agree with you, is this concerning to you, sir? That Kojima himself is saying it's unusual, that not only is it the type of game that he's making, but the fact that they are also working on new technology to make this game work, it sounds like. What's going on?
There's the good and the bad. So for full context on how that must have played out, Hideo Kojima has booked a meeting with like Jim Ryan, Yoshida, whoever else, Strauss Zelnick, all of these heads of these big publishers. He's marched in there and he's gone, hey, it's me, Hideo. You all know me. I can make a game and I will sell it on my name alone. I'm a superstar.
Right.
Here is my game. And they've looked at him and gone, what the fuck are you doing? Has he lost his mind? Get out of the building. Right? And he's left and gone to Last Chance Saloon. He's gone over to Microsoft and said, look, you haven't got any games, have you? Please partner with me for this. This is the downside, right? This is the concerning element, is when he says, like, I could not pitch this game to any of the major publishers. I'm Hideo Kojima. None of them wanted to work with me.
Yeah.
That's a concern. Like, Microsoft seeing something that nobody else could seems a little unlikely. The positive spin on it, though, is Microsoft have put forwards a specialized cloud native team to work with him as a pioneer and take that work forwards to other studios as well. And the concept of cloud native games, the power of the cloud has been like a laughing stock talking point for too many years, but it's not
Thanks,
fiction.
Crackdown 3.
Well, yeah, Crackdown 3 did an awful lot of damage, but it's not fiction. There are scenarios where it can do things that our consoles can't do.
Right.
So the exciting perspective is that he is trying to do something that our consoles cannot do. And that should excite people. Like anything for me, anything that is pushing technology forward and exploring things that we've never seen before, I want to see what it is, and I really want it to be good. And I don't know though. I'm excited by what that team will bring, but the fact that he's come out and said nobody wants my game, like, how can this end well in this particular example?
Microsoft had the forethought to see his vision. Okay, out of all the companies, that's all it was. They saw his vision and said, "Yes, we believe."
If he'd come out, if the quote was more like, if he'd come into this interview and said, "We pitched this to all of these different publishers, but they couldn't provide like the technology stack that I need to deliver this." Microsoft are uniquely positioned with their cloud infrastructure to deliver this like experimental, crazy, wild, futuristic vision that I have as a creator. But he didn't. He came out and said nobody else wanted it.
Nobody else wanted my unusual game.
They all thought I was mad. I did a presentation. It was really bad. I don't even know how to use PowerPoint, and they just walked me out.
Oh my god. Mav, Kojima. Listen, I know you've tried his games. Hit or miss, whatever the case may be for you. But again, at the end of the day, a new project from Kojima is kind of exciting. Is this a case where Microsoft just wanted to work with him no matter what and said yes? He could have dropped a bag of shit on the table and they would have said, yes, make that. We're going to put it on the cloud. Or do you think there is something to what Asa is saying, that Microsoft obviously was able to offer the not only the technology side of things, but the other resources that are going to be involved with this type of project to get Kojima's ultimate vision, whatever this unusual game is, that's his quote, to the market? What do you think here, brother?
I think Kojima is a crazy motherfucker, and I want to embrace that. Here's the thing. Like, he's a creative visionary type guy, and he's going to have weird ass stuff, and sometimes it'll fail, sometimes it'll succeed. But I do think that he's a very like great creator because he makes what he wants to make, right? And here's the thing. Yes, maybe part of the reason why people thought he was crazy.
I'll be right back, Mav.
Yeah, sorry. No problem. Maybe it's expensive, right? Maybe it's going to be really expensive. Or maybe some of these other companies don't really have the technology to make that happen. Part of that, I think, was that Microsoft and Kojima are working together to make that technology possible, right? Where some of these other publishers are not really capable of doing that. And I think more or less that's what's behind all this. And I think we'll see whatever it is. Who knows if we'll like it? Who knows if we won't? I mean, I think that anytime you have stuff out there that's just different and creative, I'm all for giving it a shot. So I'm glad that they're trying it.
I'm also glad, and I really hope that like that interpretation is the correct one, that something's been lost in translation and he hasn't come out and said, I'm making something terrible, but you're going to buy it because I'm cool or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, it comes across, not even he is arrogant enough to give an interview and say my game's just weird. I don't know why Microsoft are doing it. Like, that can't be how he meant it.
I don't think so. I'm Hideo Kojima. It's going to be good, right? And people are going to buy it regardless. And no, I don't think he can say that. Right? I think it's more about him just saying that, yes, this is different, right? Like, whenever he's talked about this, he's talking about like, you've never seen anything like this before, right? And this is lesser minds couldn't even comprehend how big and incredible this game is. Yeah. Or just like how different it is, because they're talking about like creating a new genre. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like a new medium, almost, is what they've used. So whatever it is, and here's the thing, it could be something like we've all fucking seen before, and it's just like, what is he talking about? You know, he could be talking about Pokemon Go with like fucking Metal Gear. Yeah, I don't, who knows exactly what it is, but like, I do have faith with creatives. I'm all for giving the people that have proven track records of producing creative, unique experiences, tools and power to keep doing that, right? So if he failed everywhere else and Microsoft is the place where he's going to make that dream happen, That could be great for Microsoft. It could be bad for Microsoft. It could end up being a huge flop and cost them a lot of money. Who knows, right? But we won't ever get to see it unless Microsoft backed it. And I'm all for that because I want to know what's in this guy's fucking head. You know what I mean? It's like, my curiosity is peaked.
Mine is too. And like I say, the things that excite me in the technology space are obviously virtual reality. Very interested in deep learning and AI and what that can bring to game development going forwards. And very interested in cloud tech because it's laughed at for what happened with Crackdown. A lot of people conflate it with cloud streaming, like Stadia and xCloud and all the rest of it. But that's not what we're talking about here at all. That's not what they're talking about when they make a cloud native team. You are talking about making something that can scale beyond what the processor in your console can do. Crackdown ran into some clear limitations, which I think are commercial. I've always said that about Crackdown 3. What they showed in their tech demos, if anybody remembers those, they showed some really impressive...
power of the cloud, destruction, full destruction of the entire city because of the cloud, right?
Yeah, and it looked really good, but they showed a particular tech demo there where they had... they broke it down into a little wireframe overlay that showed like when different servers were taking care of different parts of that city.
Yeah.
And they're like, look, I'm shooting buildings over here, and this server's just spun up to take care of this destruction, and this one's doing this destruction, and there's another one over there. And it's like, yeah, Xbox Live Gold is like £9 a month.
Yeah.
So you can't give me that. Like, it's technically feasible, but you can't deliver that kind of experience as a single player game. Kojima's game isn't necessarily, well, it's almost certainly not a single player game. And this is where I think cloud technology can get way more exciting. Is persistent giant worlds with massive simulation going on that players can be a part of. And these are things that we just don't have. So give me new things, Kojima. Don't make it too weird.
Maybe we'll deliver packages to each other's houses.
It could be that. Yeah, share some ladders. Like.
Yeah, I'll go over and knock on your door, Ace. I'd be like, hey, here, I have a package for you. This is my fake Mav here in this meta world created by Kojima.
And then when you do it, it'll flash up on my phone to say, Mav has delivered this gacha game to your mobile phone. Would you like to unlock the treasure chest? And I'll be like, fuck you, Kojima. This was a mistake.
And you unlock it, and it's a Solid Snake hops out and goes, ding! You know. Who knows what the fuck's gonna happen? We have a little bit of breaking news. I've been waiting to bring this up till you got back, Pong.
Yeah.
We have breaking news from Tom Warren on Twitter. Microsoft has issued their response to the FTC.
Ooh, I heard it was going down today. I didn't think we would get the published report, though.
Out of it, though, the interesting thing is that Xbox did say that there's going to be 3 exclusives from ZeniMax Bethesda on Xbox. They've confirmed that here. So I'm trying to count the games that we know about: Starfield, Redfall, and what's the other one?
Elder Scrolls 6.
Maybe is that it? So
it was already announced.
This is what he says. It says the complaints reference to Microsoft's recent acquisition of ZeniMax, a set of gaming studios acquired in 2020, has no relevance to the current transaction. After that transaction closed, ZeniMax's first 2 new games were made exclusive to PlayStation for 1 year post-launch. Xbox anticipates that 3 future titles, they named them, but it's redacted. It's blacklined. Okay.
Sure, of course.
All of which are designed to be played primarily alone or in small groups. Redfall, right?
Yeah.
Will be exclusive to Xbox and PCs. But consistent with its historic approach, Xbox has continued to release new updates of existing ZeniMax games, such as Fallout 76 and Elder Scrolls Online on both Xbox and PlayStation, because these games are designed to be played together by broad communities of gamers on different platforms. This last set of games is the one most analogs to Call of Duty. So the ZeniMax experience cuts against the idea that Xbox would make that game exclusive. And it is not just the ZeniMax games where Xbox has taken this approach. Xbox has also expanded access to Minecraft. It says not contracted, also in parentheses. They wanted to make clear that it wasn't because of a contract that they had to do so. Access to Minecraft, a similar multiplayer game with a large existing community of gamers who play together from different platforms since it was acquired. If there were any remaining doubt, Xbox's offer to put Call of Duty on other platforms on commercially favorable terms for those platforms should eliminate it. So that's an excerpt from the FTC response from Tom Warren.
Okay, that's very interesting because if I
No, it isn't. Sorry.
no, it's not. No, it's not at all, Asa.
Not to
Okay,
me,
all
no.
right, all right, all right.
Go
Well,
on.
no, it's interesting from this standpoint, Asa. Let me say this and see if you follow me. If they're going to come out and make this commitment that they're saying they're only putting 3 single player small group games, are they committing themselves to like a Quake reboot going everywhere then? Because it's a multiplayer game? Are they committing that future, even new games, multiplayer wise, are going to go everywhere? We kind of figured like MMOs, like ZeniMax Online, whatever they're making, like big, big MMOs would probably go everywhere just because you need a player base. But do you think this means like Quake or a new Doom would go somewhere else?
Well, that's a fair question.
Yeah.
It's a fair question, but it's not for me advancing anything from what we knew 10 minutes ago.
Yeah. Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Because to me, it's more of a commitment. That's all I'm saying. It's more than they've committed in the past in a certain way if you read into it. So that's.
I'm trying to remember. So this is to the FTC that they're responding,
Yes.
yeah? Because
Yes.
it's the FTC that listed 3 games speculatively in the initial. So if this is a direct response to that, then the FTC listed 3 games. And I imagine this is just literally just a direct response. Yeah, the 3 games you're talking about are exclusive.
Okay. So they're just confirming that, but they're stipulating that they are different from the games that they're committed to keeping everywhere because it's more of a single player, small group focus, and it doesn't correlate to Call of Duty. And so they're trying to prove that Call of Duty is going to remain everywhere because they've done it with all their other big kind of platform tile, or not platform, but they're big community based games. They've kept those everywhere. So therefore the Starfields of the world, Redfalls, don't really count in that category, is what I'm getting at. Okay.
So I
Matt,
have a little
any
bit
thoughts?
more as well.
Yeah,
So
go
Brad Sams also made a tweet 6 minutes ago, showing the shares of Sony, Nintendo, and Xbox console units sold in 2021. 50% Nintendo, 16% Xbox, 34% PlayStation.
Yep.
Showing again that they are behind in the market. And then Sony, Nintendo, and Xbox exclusive titles in 2021. This isn't something you want to see as an Xbox fan, but 40% Nintendo, 50% PlayStation, 10% Xbox. Xbox share of global 2021 mobile gaming revenues is 0.3% out of 99.7%. Xbox and ABK shares of global 2021 mobile gaming revenues. Xbox is, I can't even tell how little it is, 0.3% of that as well. 4% ABK and 96% everybody else. So Xbox is, listing basically facts of numbers and coming out with this. So, it's interesting. Their strategy is here, and I don't know. Do you think the FTC is going to budge or on any kind of response with this, or are they just going to say,
No.
"Well, no, it is what it is. We're going to just keep continuing on with this bullshit nonsense because that's what we're always going to do, right?"
Yeah,
they made that quite clear.
They have, and like they've said, and everybody else has said that it's not about the details. It's an ideological stance that they don't want big tech taking over this space. Yeah. And no matter how small Microsoft try to play themselves, it doesn't change that. So their ideological stance isn't suddenly going to be like, oh, you've only got a small amount of consoles. You're no longer big tech. It's not how it's going to play out. Microsoft are presumably not even trying to get the FTC to shift. Their response is looking to the legal battle ahead, where ideology is not so well written into law, I would assume.
No, it is not, sir, at all. That's exactly what this is, because Linacon has taken the position that they want to change the laws, and they're going to keep pushing legal battles to present a better case to the government of why the laws need to change. Even if they lose those cases, it helps them to try to change the laws to something more favorable for what their ideology is, right? So that's exactly what they're doing.
So Brad Smith added as well in this response that even with confidence in our case, we remain committed to creative solutions with regulators that will protect competition, consumers, and workers in the tech sector. So he's still putting out there that we're willing to like do some stuff, FTC, if you're just willing to talk to us, right? Which doesn't seem like they're willing to at all. They just want to, again, ignore everything, ignore the unions, ignore Microsoft's attempts to address solutions, ignore everything for the sake of it. For the most part, I will say it's in direct contrast now. I'm actually growing a little bit more respectful of the CMA and the EU that's actually issuing out these public responses from some of these things, right? Steps that the FTC has just completely skipped, right? Which is weird to me. Mm-hmm. I feel like the legal aspect of the FTC is almost becoming a downside of the FTC right now because they're just trying to use it to their favor to try and play these games where maybe the EU and the CMA, even we don't know what their decisions are going to be yet. Nope. They have more like responsibility on them to make sure they get this right? As opposed to using the court as their way out.
And that's the big differences with the CMA and the EU. And we found out this week that Microsoft is going to wait to provide remedies to the CMA until they hear the EU's concerns, and they're going to present remedies to both at the same time to clear both of them up, hopefully, because that's the part that's different of the process is that those two do actually hear Microsoft or give the opportunity to Microsoft to present different deals in order to obviously get rid of their fears, right? To go ahead and say, hey, this is what we're going to do. You guys have these fears. This is what we're going to do. And this is what we will legally bind ourselves to do down the road to make sure that you guys don't have these fears anymore and you'll pass this. So they actually do allow that to happen, whereas the FTC doesn't have to. They can do exactly what they did.
I would like to read a little bit from the Wall Street Journal as well.
Sure.
It says that the company could offer the FTC commitments on, this is from Wall Street Journal's words, right? The company could offer the FTC commitments on top of its existing Call of Duty offer to avoid litigation, legal experts say. Still, they add, such a move might not sway the government because it would have to invest in resources to enforce them. That's fucking, like, what resources, how much resources do they have to invest to enforce that? Anyway, further, they say
big government.
Further, they say the FTC might be concerned that concessions deemed sensible today might not be valid in the future. Again, like just completely. God. Yeah. That's what this is. This is the Wall Street Journal's saying, but basically what they're interpreting as the FTC's like worries, right? So going on with this though, they go on to say the FTC faces hurdles in its case though. Legal experts say, because the deal is for a vertical merger, meaning that Microsoft wants to buy a company in its supply chain as opposed to a direct competitor. Legal experts say the FTC could argue that the transaction would indirectly put consumers at risk, such as by enabling the misuse of sensitive competitor information by the combined enterprise. With such information, the new entity could prevent upstarts of video game distribution from succeeding, they say, leaving consumers with fewer choices.
Right.
So that's what they're trying to argue.
So for me, a lot of people scorn the FTC for taking their ideological case forwards. I think there's some kind of merit to it to a degree. I think like philosophically, it's reasonable to say these gamma corporations like Google, Apple, Meta, Microsoft, and Amazon, there could be some concerns that they're leading us to a cyberpunk dystopia if they can buy whatever they want. The problem that I have with so the FTC's approach being they've got this ideology. I don't think it's their place to impose that because that's just not a democratic way to impose an ideology. Problem that they have is I don't think there is a democratic way to pursue that in the States at the moment. I don't know how you would address that wider conversation in the political system that you have. So I don't know that they have a better approach to it, but I don't think that the approach that they are taking is like reasonable. in that regard. Saying that, if they were to reframe it and say, is this deal good or bad for virtual reality, then they should drop the whole thing. That's how they should look at it.
I like the
should
personal
let's look at
ideology there.
everything around virtual reality. How are we more likely to get World of Warcraft in virtual reality? If Microsoft buy them or if they don't? Well, then they can't buy them.
Oh my gosh.
Right.
Oh, Ace, I love it. I love it. Yeah, no, they to your point about there's no process. There is a process that would have had to been taken up by Congress long ago to change the actual laws and make that happen. Again, it's based solely on the political standing of who appoints the head of the FTC, what administration is currently in. But again, this should have all been brought up if people wanted to, if there was actually a movement to get the rules as they've written changed. It should have been brought up a long time ago, voted on, and then changed, and then moving forward. That's how we do things in a democratic society. You don't go, I don't like this, so I'm going to take it out on company A to make sure I make an example of them to try to get this pushed through. That's not how you do it, but unfortunately, that's exactly what they're doing right now.
The former FTC chairs, including the person that had actually successfully sued Microsoft in the past,
right,
with the FTC, says this is not a good strategy. He doesn't understand the strategy that she's trying to put ahead because she's at basically what they're trying to say. The couple former FTC chairmen have actually come out against this and said that basically what she's trying to do is change the law by creating a problem, right? Where if she puts up enough stuff and the stuff keeps getting kicked back, they're going to say, oh, this is a problem. We need to be able to create laws to enforce this, right? So she's trying to create the problem, right? Correct. Where they say that this is going to fail is that it's actually going to make the FTC look bad. And the FTC is going to actually be looked at as they're just bringing up bad cases now, right? Mm-hmm. And actually maybe take power away from the FTC.
Which costs us taxpayers money.
Right. So it's all horseshit at the end of the day. Right. Big tech has issues with controlling certain aspects, right? I don't think anybody can debate that to a certain degree because there's like certain aspects that we all want to be protected from, right? Certain things, privacy, security, as certain things where they sometimes they step beyond where they should go, right? But you're talking about fucking video games here.
Correct.
Right? We're talking about video games, primarily one gaming franchise that they've made this whole stink about, right?
Right.
And the ludicrous of it, just for the fact of making a point, to me is the biggest joke I have seen the government take and use as an example before, period. Point blank. Ridiculous. It's just absolutely asinine. There's so many other problems in this country and that could be addressed and that deserve attention. And they are focusing on fucking Call of Duty. And how asinine is that? It's so crazy. Anyway, I think that we'll see what happens here. Again, I think it's the CMA and EU is going to 100% matter the most in this because if they get the two go-aheads with those and the concessions, whatever they agree to there, then at that point, Microsoft's willing to go the distance on this thing. Yep, if they end up having to fight all three of them and go through whatever processes you guys have there in the UK or whatever, it's like, at that point, it's like, okay, well, one battle we're willing to fight, and especially one we know we're going to win, right? CMA, EU, two different animals, So I think that the FTC, they know they'll win that. It just depends on if it's worth taking it the distance. And I think that worth taking it to the distance is up to you guys, Asa. So go make some friends over there at the CMA
You don't want me to do that, Mav, because I've already given you my stance.
Oh, you don't want them to
You
buy
will not be
ABK?
getting your Call of Duty on Game Pass if I go in there and have words with them, and I am going to super glue myself to the CMA's front door.
Oh my God.
Well,
Let me have Forza in VR, or this deal doesn't go ahead.
well, Asa,
Okay.
I'm not gonna.
I'll give you that. I'll
not-
concede to that, Asa. You can have that.
I'm not gonna bring you your package anymore in the Kojima metaverse. Okay. In this new Kojima metaverse game, I'm not gonna bring you your. I was gonna bring you a VR game in that fake world that we're gonna live in when the Kojima's world one day. I'm not gonna do it anymore because you're gonna keep Call of Duty out of Game Pass for me. So you cost me $70.
Well, not if they give me my
year.
Forza Horizon in virtual reality. Then we all win. Everyone's happy.
Okay.
I
Fair
promise.
Okay,
I promise.
so I get the
Asa.
super glue.
I promise. Just like you promised 60 frames for Suicide Squad, I'll promise you get VR. Okay, so you're happy.
A little bit happier, yeah.
All right, folks. We are at the 2-hour mark. Asa, how are you doing on time, brother? You need to get out of here, or you got a little bit more time?
I got a little bit more.
Okay, you got a little bit more? Okay. Then let's jump into some high on life talk. Mav, I know you wanted to talk about this. Not just from the game standpoint, but from the success. The absolute hype surrounding this game has continued to build as more people have shared it out. I think it's one of the biggest games on Steam. It is, obviously has become the biggest third-party title release ever on Game Pass. And it's one of the most played games on Game Pass as well. Of course, those things are going to correlate. But this game was not universally, but it was definitely not given the highest marks by reviewers. The Metascore sits, I think, somewhere 64, 65, somewhere in that neighborhood right now. And so a lot of people thought this was not going to go well. And outside of the few performance problems that they had during the early launch, they patched it the following day, which I experienced in both cases. Outside of that, this game is being loved. The humor, which a lot of the reviewers had a problem with, and again, humor is subjective as it comes, so not everybody's supposed to love it, but most people are dying over the humor and having a great time with this game. Asa, I know you've played around with High on Life. Do you agree? Is this game better than what the reviewers said it was going to be? And does this speak volumes to a smaller studio getting the backing of Xbox and getting their game into Game Pass and having huge success? Because we've had obviously the studio come out and say this is going to, the revenue that they're getting from this and the Game Pass deal is going to go into their future projects, and they're excited that they can expand and do more down the road. What do you think about all this, brother? What does this say?
I think the disconnect between the critical reception and the public reception is quite fascinating. I think by and large, like speaking very broadly and not accusing anyone in particular of anything, but there's a big disconnect and devaluation in mainstream gaming media in general over time. It's been a long time coming. Sea of Thieves is a key example that I always look back to where mainstream media got it very wrong because they hated that game and people that played it seemed to love it. Not universally, of course, but it was a massive success despite getting 4s and 5s from mainstream media. High on Life is a tricky one in terms of reviews because you can say that if you didn't like that humor, if you take the humor out of it and park it to one side, is that game still gonna stand up? And most people, I think, I've not got that far into it. I've played it for a little while, but I spent too long sitting there watching the adverts on TV. Right. The humor is, it's my sense of humor. I enjoy it. Yeah. But if you're trying to review a game through a critical lens and through an objective lens, how much weight can you put on the sense of humor that runs through it? You still have to look at every other element that's in there. Does High on Life hold up mechanically as like a high scoring game? And it's a really difficult question to answer because I don't think the industry is mature enough to really understand what should be a high scoring game, what factors actually go into that. There is no consistency at all. And it is it's almost an impossible task to come up with a consistent framework to review games. How do you review Vampire Survivors next to Destiny, next to High on Life? It's is a conundrum that there is no answer to. For me, high on life's reviews, though, I mean, if you cannot get a consistent framework, then you look at whether you like the game or not, you score it accordingly, and there is a disconnect. People like high on life. It's fun. Again, I've not played, from what I've seen, and I'll say from my perspective, mechanically, I'm still near the start of the game, so it's all relatively simplistic.
Right.
Visually, it's solid. I've got no complaints about performance, about visuals. It's not like Stalker 2. You don't look at it and go, oh, I've never seen anything that looks as polished and brilliant as this.
Right.
But it's got its art style. It sticks to it consistently, and there's a lot of diversity of the environments. There's a lot to look at. I think it holds up really well. So I don't know, I need to play it more before I give a proper verdict.
No, I totally understand. I'm in the same boat. From what I've seen so far, the animation style is awesome. I love it. The graphics pop off the screen. Looks great. And once they fix the performance issues, it's been a whole different experience from the first night that I played it. Again, I haven't played it long enough to get into it, but the humor that I've already gotten is right up my alley as well. I've already found myself, I was laughing during the first level when they did that old school Doom bit style game, and the dude kept talking about how he's a divorce attorney. I was just dying laughing. I don't know why, but I thought it was hilarious. But I think we see this more and more, to your point about the reviewer disconnect between the professionals and the audience. We see this all the time in movies and TV and stuff too. And we're starting to see that more and more when it comes to video games as this medium grows and has become the number one entertainment. It's interesting too, to your point, that it would be very difficult to come up with kind of a baseline way to rate games, since there's so many different styles. Like there would be, it's always going to be subjective. It's art. So it's always going to be subjective from that. But mechanically, how do you do it when games perform differently or going for different things? So great points there, Asa. Mav, high on life. Where are you at with this, brother? The most played game from a third party in Game Pass history is saying a lot. We've had some big launches from third parties. We've had some games that may have died off quickly, like Outriders, but the initial launch was pretty big. A lot of people were playing it. We've had MLB The Show drop in there as well. From your perspective, what do you think? Is this saying a lot more about Game Pass and the potential, or is this an outlier and High on Life just is hitting all the right notes for a big enough group of people that we're seeing these massive numbers continue to grow? What do you think?
I think that High on Life is different. It stands out from the crowd, right? When's the last game you've played a game like High on Life that has that kind of humor and stuff? You know what I mean? It's been a while, right? So I feel like there's a big audience for that and they're attracted to it, right? So that's one thing. Some people don't like it, whatever. I think overall reviewers, for the most part, in nature, can be more cynical towards that kind of stuff. You see it in movies as well, right? People don't review the popcorn stuff very high, right? But guess what? A lot of people love it, and these things sell really well and stuff, right? So High on Life to me is like kind of a popcorn game. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to play it, you're going to have fun, you're going to laugh, or if you don't like it, then you're not going to play it, right? Just like a dumb comedy that you go see at the movies, right? Some people will watch it and be like, this is the fucking stupidest thing I've ever seen. Some people are going to sit there and laugh their asses off and have a great time. You know what I mean? To me, that's big part of what's going on right now. The thing is, it's more popular with people than it's not, right? For the gamers so far, right? It's proven to be that right now. And I feel like it's getting the audience. It's kind of caught something people's attention, and it's drawing more attention to the studio. It's drawing more attention to Game Pass. I've also seen people say like, well, it's only popular because Xbox didn't have any games in 2022, which to me is completely horseshit because this game's extremely popular on Steam, right? Right. So that it has to do with the game in and of itself. But the fact that people are finding their way to Game Pass to access this game is one of the best things about Game Pass, right? Because, and that's why I think ultimately it's been successful and going to continue to be successful. But this game is, I haven't gotten super far into it, right? I've done a couple bounties. Mechanically, it's way better than I thought it would be. It's actually, after that day one patch came out, optimized really well. I mean, it's smooth. It's pretty looking game. It's not gonna blow your socks off in any one way or the other. Gameplay, it's not gonna match up to some of the best games out there. You know, visuals, it's not gonna match
be good
up.
in VR though, right?
Yeah. Graphics, it's not going to, you know, stand out there with the best games out there. You know, it's not going to be like a Death Stranding graphically, or like a God of War, or like, you know what I mean? Like, but it's good in all these categories. It's good in all these categories, and it's fun. And overall, I think that sometimes reviewers and people that are trying to be cynical on things and looking for things to pick apart or whatever, that's the nature. And you're going to judge things based on everything it doesn't have, not based on what it is. Right.
Right.
And for me, when you play a game like this, it's just, it is what it is. And you look at it like that, and are you having a good time or are you not? And I think
so you're talking about getting back to what games are all about, fun, right, Mav? That's what you're talking about.
Yeah, 100%. And you know, if it had, now a lot of these reviewers may have also played it when it had those performance issues also, right?
There wasn't a whole lot of talk about the performance.
There wasn't a whole lot of talk about it, but it was noticeable day one, right?
Sure.
So maybe they were giving it a pass because it was an indie game and didn't really talk about it too much, but it can still affect your enjoyment. So maybe there's some of that too there. I don't know, because it was night and day. Once that patch came out, it fixed all the issues, and it was a day one thing. So I do feel like there should have been more reviews for this game as well. I feel like maybe there will be more show up now because of how popular it's becoming, right? That could elevate the score over time. But yeah, it's a solid game. I haven't beat it yet. I do like actually the fact that it is supposed to be shorter, because there's too many damn big games that I can't finish, right? And overall, man,
Grazers don't care about finishing games.
I mean, I'm laughing. I'm having fun with the mechanics. It's got great. It reminds me mechanically, like gameplay wise, of Bulletstorm.
Yeah.
It has a lot of those same mechanics of the sliding and then popping guys in the air and shooting them when they're in the air and slinging around and kind of stuff like that. So it feels kind of like Bulletstorm to me, but with like, and I never really watched Rick and Morty ever, right? But it's still my kind of humor, right? Like I'm laughing. I like the stupid. Kate made a statement when she saw this game, and she was like, "It's like as if our DM group, the Fun Spec fam, wrote this game." Because it's the kind of bullshit that we say to each other all the time. I mean, it's like it's in this game. It's 100% for us, and I like it. You know, I think there should be more games like it. 100%.
For me, the biggest thing is that Squanch Games got Microsoft to take a chance on this. This is not your typical game that we've seen from Xbox, and now we've got the Conquer Brigade out here trying to revitalize Conquer again. I was never a Conquer fan per se. I understood why people enjoyed it, but obviously there was a lot of people who believed that Microsoft would never go back to Conquer because the humor just wouldn't work in 2022, 2023 nowadays. But it's fascinating to me that Squanch somehow convinced everybody at Xbox that this game would be a success with the type of humor that it has. And not that they stay away from a lot of, stuff that nowadays just never would fly, but they still are they're towing that line, right? They're towing that line in a lot of different conversations within this game, even the stuff that I haven't experienced yet, but I've seen posted. They're really out there. Like they are like, oh, wow, we're really going there. And so for me, that Xbox took the chance on this and it's paying off dividends might have opened the door for more games down the road in the future, even if it's not a Conquer return. And I know some people want Squanch to really do a Conquer game, which I could see it working. But even if it's not Conquer, I'd love to see Microsoft take more chances. No, I don't need the Nintendo eShop freaking games that are on there that are panty raids and all that kind of stuff. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about more adult themed stuff outside of just gore and violence. Like we're all gamers now. I've always said this about movies too, like Star Wars. yeah, you can say Star Wars is for kids, but those kids are now adults and we still like it. There's room for an adult version of Star Wars alongside a more, a softer kid friendly version as well, because you've still got a fan base. And I think this shows Microsoft and Xbox, there's a fan base of adults out here who are loving this game for all the reasons you just mentioned and Asa mentioned. It is bringing something different to the table that we just don't get anymore. We used to get more games like this. And I think in the golden age of gaming, as I call it, I think it's time to start bringing back some risk taking when it comes to these games and saying, you know what? No, I think our audience can handle this. I think our audience is old enough to handle it. And it's not easy. Again, comedy is one of the hardest things to pull off out there in the entire world. We all like to think that we're all funny, but we know that's not true. Okay. It really takes a special person to become a comedian, and for them to pull this off in a video game is even harder over an extended period of time. And people have been saying, people that have finished this game now, however long it's taken them, 5, 10, whatever hours, 12 hours, they've said from start to finish, it's the same consistency of comedy. That's saying something for Squanch Games and for the writers over there. And again, as you, Mav, said, I'm not a big Rick and Morty fan. I've watched a few episodes. I thought they were good. I laughed, but it's not something I would want to watch, or it's not something I would say, hey, I'm going to give up my video game time to go watch at all. But it still works on me. Again, this is humor that I enjoy, and obviously a lot more people are standing up and saying we like this too. So Microsoft, Xbox, take this to heart. Look at this and take some chances. Put some riskier stuff out there. When these devs come to you and say, hey, we've got a game proposal, don't shoot it down just because you don't think it fits the image now that you have at Xbox. Let these games go through and see how they perform and then judge them. And obviously, a lot of talk out there. I hope that they are talking to Squanch about a sequel coming immediately, or whenever they get around to it, that the sequel does come and does hit Game Pass as well. I think they've got a nice, really solid fan base between here and the PC. And I hope that Xbox does take advantage of it, because unique games like this are few and far between. That's why Vampire Survivors also worked. It's different from everything else we're playing, and it really hits the right chords. Sure, you still got to make a great game to make it popular, but I think that there are certain developers out there that are now taking these chances. As we've always talked about, the indie scene is where the new stuff comes from most of the time. And there's a reason for that. So I hope Microsoft dives more into this side of things. Loving to see the success. I think it says a lot about the Game Pass phenomenon, where more people play a game, start sharing it out, and then people who were on the fence or weren't interested see a clip or see some screenshots and say, you know what? Actually, that is something I want to download and try. And that's kind of the ripple effect that we always talk about. Same thing just happened with Vampire Survivors. Same thing. More and more people started playing and showing off clips, and all of a sudden people were jumping in because they had to see what all the fuss was about. So this is also showing off the power of Game Pass and what they've got going on. And as Game Pass hopefully continues to grow in the future, that power becomes even bigger and bigger and bigger. And it could really influence a lot of different things within this industry. So great to see. Really excited. Congratulations to Squanch Games, because I can't wait to see what they bring now that they're talking about this is going to allow them to make more games. So shout out to Squanch for getting Microsoft to approve this, for sure.
Right on.
All right. Great conversation, brothers. Anything else you want to get out of the way, Mav?
I want to bring up something on the screen real quick. That shout out to Andre Doyle, who shares stuff all the time on Twitter and stuff and DMs.
Absolutely,
and stuff.
100%.
He just sent me this, and it kind of caught my eye. Crytek has a new hiring post out there on Twitter today. But I want to everybody look at the image for the hiring post out there. This is a little fun speculation, right? Got a little bit of Rise Son of Rome theme artwork going on this hiring post. What does that mean? You got like a Spartan? Is that a Spartan or a gladiator or something right there?
It's definitely not Crisis.
Not Crisis. It's definitely not Crisis. It's definitely not a Hunt Showdown. You know what I mean? Nope, it's not Hunt Showdown. This looks a little risey to me. Anyway, Crytek hiring and using image of that for the hiring post. Found
Asa,
that
were you
very
a Rise
interesting.
fan?
I actually replayed Rise. It was
Okay.
probably within the last year.
Okay.
I thought it
Awesome.
was very harshly treated for something that's actually really good. I found the combat really satisfying. Shouting fire volley to the Connect was a bit shite. The game also,
It
if you
started
can't
out
play it
gimmicky,
now,
for sure.
I think it's really, really good until the point in the story where you return to Rome, and then it just kind of falls off a cliff and goes a bit shite.
Yeah.
But I'd very much like to see. I don't know how much of Crytek remains and whether they're capable of delivering something of that caliber again. But I would still very much like to see them try.
It's a fair point. It's a fair point because you don't know what some of these studios, where they're at now. We always like to have the
Crytek in
nostalgia.
particular had
Yes.
a lot of problems.
Yes.
Unable
They've
to pay
lost
their
talent.
staff, people leaving from top to bottom.
Yes, absolutely. Mav, you want to see a return of Rise, Son of Rome?
Yeah, this is like a guilt thing as an Xbox fan, as a big time Xbox gamer. I've never played more than like 5 minutes of Rise, Son of Rome.
I've played more Rise than you.
You're halfway through it, Mav. Get to the end.
Am I? I played for a little bit and I was pretty impressed, but I just moved on to something else and I just never went back.
Yeah.
But it was impressive. However, I never finished it or really spent too much time in it or whatever. But sure, why not? I mean,
yeah.
I think that it would be amazing for them to make a sequel to that. I think that Crytek, I want Crytek to succeed because Crytek, for me, goes back to Far Cry.
Right.
And then they went on to make Crysis and all these things. For me, they're one of the best open world, like they invented the open world shooter pretty much, right? And now they're like this shadow of themselves, right? They create Far Cry, they go on to create Crysis, right? And then now, like, what are they? You know, I miss Far Cry Crytek being that huge innovator within that space. So I want to win for them to see if we can get them back to where they were, right? And I love the CryEngine, right? I loved their games in the CryEngine. Far Cry is still built on a version of that because when Ubisoft completely took it over and turned it to the internal studios, they converted a version of CryEngine into their Dunia engine that they use for Far Cry. They just basically changed the name and added some features to it, right? So for me, their legacy runs deep, and I want to see a win for them. So hoping that they get back to being prominent developer.
And I agree. I'd love to see a Rise, Son of Rome game without the gimmicks, without the QTEs. I'd like to see a full fleshed out game. Again, a lot of that was put in there with the Connect in mind, obviously being a launch game for Xbox One. So I'd like to see what they could do, giving it kind of a fully fleshed out game without those extra mechanics that just weren't necessary, or nowadays certainly aren't necessary at all. And like you, I grew up in an era, even though I wasn't a PC gamer, all I heard about was, of course, the Crytek engine, and can your PC run Crysis and all that kind of stuff. And to see a developer fall always hurts, especially one that does seem to know what they're doing when they do put out a game. So I'd like to see them return to glory. And we had rumors about them possibly going back to Rise, Son of Rome, and it going multi-plat, right? Not being funded by Microsoft per se this time around, but them just doing it internally and releasing a multi-plat. And I was all for it because I think playing through Rise, I didn't finish it, of course, because I'm a grazer, but I'm probably like 60-70% done with the game. Really enjoyed what was there, and I was liking the story. So I didn't get to the point where Asa did, finding out if it fell off a cliff or not, but I thought there was really something special there, and I'd love to see it come back. So I'm all for it, and I think we may be in speculation town. We might be reading into things, but that's what we do in speculation.
I mean, why
town,
else would they have a fucking what was it?
Out
Calarie
of all their games, right? Out of all their games, why use that image, right?
Yeah.
Out of all their games, again, Rise is not their biggest game. Why would you use that for hiring purposes? So, or at least seemingly a Ryze-like character, why would you use that out of all of them? So I agree with you.
Yeah. Something to think about. Anyway.
Something to think about. All right. Should we get everybody out of here?
Yes.
Awesome.
Asa needs to go to bed.
Yeah, Asa does need to go to bed. He's doing well though. You put on your best face tonight, Asa, and we appreciate you coming on in.
Hey, it's time for a Q&A, Asa. Let's go.
He just got done with one of those too.
I know he did.
He's doing awesome. But Asa, listen, appreciate you, brother, for coming on. You know how much I respect you and Gaz, but how much I respect you and all that you do over there on Game On Daily, and the intellect that you bring, the perspective, the VR fanatic that you are, that perspective. I love it. Again, even though it's not for me right now, I love that you're pushing it forward and you love the tech side of things. So thank you for bringing all that knowledge to PM and the PM and joining me and Mav tonight for a holiday special. Just want to wish you and yours, Asa, a fantastic holiday. Merry Christmas. And I hope we can do this again sometime, brother. But thank you for being here. Tell everybody what you got going on when you're not Dick Wingbat.
No, I really appreciate the invite. I've been on the Fun Speculation show a while back, but it has been a while. And Pong and Mav, I know both of you, you've been on Go Live. You're positive guys that talk about gaming with the enthusiasm and passion that I'm here for. And you've got a really nice, like-minded community here that are all here loving gaming. So thank you everyone in chat. Always good to me here. So I will definitely come back when I'm invited. You can find me on, I actually don't know if we've got a Go Live this Saturday. That's a little bit up in the air, but the Game On Daily channel has a show every Saturday. A new show coming in the new year as well on a Tuesday, but details of that are coming soon. It's going to be a pretty exciting one. Videos and stuff there. There's also my channel, Asa Game On Daily. I do stuff there on a Thursday. I talk usually by myself. I had a guest on today, but I do some fun things there, have a good little chat, put a fair amount of effort into the presentation of that one as well. So it's only a small group of people, but we have some nice conversations. So if any of you can catch me there, it'd be great to see you. And again, thanks, Mav, thanks, Pong, and Merry Christmas to everybody. Happy holidays, everything that you celebrate, all of that family time. Please do enjoy it.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. And everybody, for God's sakes, go check out their website, would you? Mm-hmm. It's a great, freaking fantastic aggregate site that they built that not enough people go visit. So go visit their website for sure. But no, thank you again, Asa. Appreciate it. As always, for having, just giving us your time, man. Again, this is not paid stuff. So appreciate it every time anybody joins us. So thank you, sir. Mav, my co-host with the most. What is going on with you, sir? What does the lineup look through the holidays? Great show, brother. You too. And what's going on, man?
We'll have something tomorrow night. I don't know exactly what. We're still figuring it out. But we'll be going live probably around 10 p.m. tomorrow night, Eastern time. Fun. Maybe we'll have like community like trivia or something like that for video game trivia. I've wanted to do video game 20 questions, for a while, because I remember there was a podcast I used to listen to that did that all the time, like Game Scoop, and I always enjoyed it. So I want to do something fun with the community, just hang out and shoot the shit and have some fun times tomorrow night. But besides that, let's see, what Monday we should have a show on Monday, I think, and then next week, you good for Thursday, Pong? Next week, that's what the 29th. Yeah. So we should be fine the rest of the week next week. So, but everybody, I appreciate you in the chat. This is a very active, awesome chat tonight. Asa, you are one of the guys I respect the most in this community. Always think a little bit differently than I do, but you make great points and very well thought out stuff as well, right? You don't just speak out your ass. I kind of speak out my ass a lot.
Oh, do you?
Yeah. It's okay. But I appreciate you being here, man. And love to have you back again in the future. But what about you, Pong? What you got going on, bro?
Yeah. So great show. Absolutely freaking fantastic. The chat was absolutely amazing. We had near 100 people consistently in here tonight, and the chat was flying. Again, all great discussion. Appreciate every single one of you. Whether you agree with what we're talking about or whether you don't, the fact that you're here interacting in a positive, real adult-like fashion is what we love here. Like Asa said, we have a passionate community being built underneath the Fun Speculation umbrella, and it shows up week after week for all of our shows. Can't thank you enough. Again, nothing but love and respect. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. If you're all celebrating, whatever you do, spending time with family, gaming, watching sports, eating, whatever you're going to be doing, enjoy it. Can't tell you enough how much I'm thankful for all of you. So appreciate you, seeing you here tonight for sure. So I'm not going to be on tomorrow night. I already told Mav that, so I will not be on, but you got to check out, of course, Xbox Ultimate, whatever they're going on. You know it's going to be a good time with the fam. So check that out Saturday morning. So Christmas Eve morning, if you're wrapping gifts, whatever you're doing, up early, listen, you are going to get Living Split Screen. Steele and I are going to do Christmas Eve morning on Living Split Screen, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time, 3 p.m. UK time. Be there. Please join us. Still Mission 1K. We could still have a Christmas miracle if enough people subscribe to us. So please, if you like what Steele and I do, join, share it out if you can. But no matter what, at the end of the day, we just can't wait to see all your faces in the chat, because we're going to have a good time. You know what it is. It's still going to be 3+ hours. Buckle up. Steele and I got a lot to talk about. You know we're going to deep dive the community stuff. There's going to be some rants. And you're going to have a good time with me and Steele. So be there Saturday morning. No shop podcast Saturday night, as it is Christmas Eve night. And a lot of people are celebrating. So we're not doing the shop this week. Otherwise, next week, you already know the drill. Tuesdays is Xbox Factor. Double Barrel Gaming, Mr. Boomstick at 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 o'clock Central Time. All good things green every Tuesday. And then, like Matt said, Thursday, we will be back for PM in the PM, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 o'clock Central Time. And then we should be pretty normal, although I think Steele and I might take off next Saturday. We will see about that. Otherwise, listen, folks, you all have a fantastic rest of your weekend, your week. Tomorrow, enjoy the holidays, whatever you're doing. It's the golden age of gaming. So nothing but respect and love to all of you. And we will talk to you all real soon. Play what you love what you play. Mav, get us out of here, brother.
Yeah, and don't everybody forget to use the code Fun Speculation to get your balls nice and smooth. 20% off and free shipping. Hey, have a good one. Peace out. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, and all of that. Bye-bye.